Yes, I can hear you. 1 second. I want to. I was actually here 20 minutes beforehand, before the call was supposed to commence, but I was having great difficulty in accessing it. Let me see. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay, basically, this is I want to kind of get an update from everybody out there and the processes that they're doing. I intentionally remained silent due to all the chaos that's going on out there and everybody doing their processes. So I want you all to kind of experience, know what your results were in some of those processes that you are involved in. This call is basically, I will be conducting a school, and it will probably commence next month. And I know I've been putting it off, but there's a lot of material to be covered. And once you go through this primer course, this is the primer, this is the foundation, I guarantee you, if you stick with this, and I don't make guarantees, but if you stick with this and if you take what you've already learned, and if you put that aside for a minute, I'm not telling you to forget it. I'm just telling you to put it aside for a minute and let me lay foundation and get foundation, and you will be able to go through your processes and you'll see where they're flawed. Because you hear people talking about operating from the private and being in the public when in actuality they do not understand what true private is. Now, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but that's just basically the way it is. I've looked at people out there, and this is not a personal attack on any of them. This is not an attack on Winston Shrout. This is not an attack on Boris. This is not an attack on those out there. And the reason why you're not having the successes or having a success because you don't understand or you haven't been given the proper, or you don't understand or you haven't been presented with the proper historical perspective or context in which all these things came about. So if you submit yourself to study and you come to class and you decide to participate, you will be given information, not that I'm pulling it out of my behind. You will have the source materials to refer to, and we will examine those things that are out there, not based upon what Tommy Dwayne says. It's based upon the source materials and the facts, and then you have to decide whether you want to. You have to decide whether or not you want to change your ideology based upon fact. And one of the biggest clues that I can give you in terms of what's going on out there, that system is 100. In order to really discover or see what's going on, you have to understand that the world or that system is 180 degrees opposite of what it should be or what should be. So one of the very first ways in which you can use, or methods you can use in determining what should be done, is to do the opposite, because that is satanic, that's Satan's world, and the only way that he can have power is to do things 180 degrees opposite and get you to join on into it. Now, many of you are seeking to try some financial relief. What I'm saying to you, if you come to school and you participate, and there will be modules. I'm not trying to throw everything at you all at once, but the primer course is the foundation, and from that you'll be able to see whether you want to attend future classes or not. But the bottom line is you have a litmus test to judge any process out there that's being presented, especially when they're saying they're in the private, and you're filling out all these documents, you're interacting with the so-called government, and you think you're operating in the private, I'm here to tell you that you are not operating in the private. If you don't understand the planes of jurisdictions, and one of the keys that you can start studying is you can pick up a case called Ponzi versus Fessenden. And any of those who have been familiar with me and the information I've shared with you, that is absolutely crucial. Because if you can't distinguish what the planes of jurisdictions are, there's no way in the hell are you going to be able to escape that system. I don't care whether it's Jonah Bay, I don't care whomever, whatever they're putting out there, you are still within the matrix. Now, it's true that you are given God-given rights, you're given private rights, unalienable rights. You were given that. But the bottom line is, if that is the case, if you truly are sovereign, and people get confused because they say, well, I'm sovereign citizen, but they don't quite understand they don't understand what that means. Because you have two systems out there, and that's all I'm going to say. You have two systems out there. You have that which is supposed to be under God or is under God, and you have that which is a system that's been designed to deceive you and provide you with deceptive intelligence. It is there to deceive you at every level. It is there to separate you and your connection from God, period, point blank, whether it be law, whether it be your food, just everything on every level. They are trying to give you.
I got a question.
Okay, hold that question and let me finish, please. Just hold your question. And the foundation, the thing of it is if you really clearly and truly want to see what's going on, you have to have the correct historical perspective, because that is what's killing everyone is, and you've heard me say this time and time again, is your conduct. You're not demonstrating the proper conduct, and conduct is things done and not done. So what are the things that you've done and what are the things that you haven't done? And once this one little thing is revealed to you that will help you to distinguish where you are. In other words, you've always heard me say you must know who you are, where you are, and what it is that you're dealing with. Many of them out there are saying, I know who I am. Yeah, you might know who you are, but are you aware of the devices which are so subtle and is used to ensnare you? Okay? And it's clearly that you must understand the two distinct jurisdictions. And if you are going to be successful, you have to learn how to attach yourself to the superior law form or the superior jurisdiction. And in that particular jurisdiction, that's where we say the power comes from the people. You set up the government. You know who you are. You know how to inflict that Constitution, or the Constitution of the United States of America, or the Constitution for the United States of America, whichever one you want. You're the beneficiary of that, and you must know how to assert that. And that is the problem. People don't know how to make that connection. They don't know how to assert that, because that's what this is all boiled on. And you're saying that, oh, these people in government are so evil. I'm here to tell you, you're doing it to yourself. And what they're doing, they're absolutely correct, because if they can induce you to leave the Garden of Eden and come on and abandon God and breach your agreement with God, then you don't have God's protection. So when you go into that realm, Satan does whatever the hell he wants to do to you, because how did he get you there? He gave you a false promise. And so that's what's going on out there. These people who are coming up with these commercial remedies, and there's only one person out there that I know that's from a commercial standpoint is doing things okay, but he thinks he's still operating in the private. He is not. So the whole purpose of this school is to help you lay that foundation, and once you have that foundation, not only will you be saving yourselves vast sums of money with those who come out with their new scheme, with their new commercial scheme, you'll be able to see the flaw in the first damn paragraph and know that is not the way to go. I'm sorry. Those that are out there, I'm not trying to knock it. I'm not trying to sell you something. If I were just about money, I would have been doing I would have been doing seminars long ago along the same path. These people out here, some of their information, they have truth mixed with falsehood, but they're not able to make this distinction. That's why they are not successful. And so if you can just put your desire for money and trying to take control of an estate, there is probably on the commercial side, there is an estate, and yes, if you take control of that, you're not taking control of that from the private side. You're still public. You're still in that, and I don't want to be a proponent of that approach, because Scripture has always told you, you got to make a decision, and it's decision-making time. You cannot straddle the fence. You cannot say, okay, then I'm going to participate over here. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to take control of the state and think that you're in the private and think that you have protection, of a spiritual nature from God. It's just not going to work, and they know this. So even if you are controlling, so what you're saying, I'm controlling my estate, which is what people are putting out there, or I'm controlling this thing commercially, what are you controlling? You're not controlling true money. You're not controlling gold coin, which was what Scripture said that you must be using. It says you must use coin money, not this paper. That whole thing that's called the United States is nothing but a game of monopoly. And if you think, even if you are able to gain access to the so-called estate, when you go out and buy land, all you're doing is because you don't understand how it is that you're entering territorially or how to contract, all you are is just a user. That whole world is set up to give you the illusion that you are free, but they know that they can move against you at any time. That's what it's all about, giving you the illusion that you're free. So in that, I have been working because I don't want to be self-serving. I'm not basically speaking to you to serve myself. I have worked with Ben and Joyce and worked with Wayne, and they can tell you what their experiences have been. I did that, in a sense, intentionally, so that somebody can say, well, how do we know that you're not doing the same thing? When this course is put forth and you participate, well, like I said, you will be able to detect deceit and fraud anywhere. So if I am fraudulent in my approaches, you will even be able to use that litmus test to judge what I'm saying. I'm not like these people out here operating off of just a wild hair. There's been so much fraudulent crap put out there, and people have come in God's name, to shield their wicked agenda. Okay? And we see that all the time. Like I said, I'm not here to attack any of those out there. Like I said, all the boys that are out there, I'm not out here to attack them. What I put forth, and when I show you, when I say something, I am prepared to support my claim with fact, and with the resources. And it's going to be up to you, not just to take what I say. You have to go and you read those documents and you'll see for yourself, and you'll see how you've been deceived. And I'm not saying they truly trying to deceive you. I'm just saying that their processes are flawed in the premises, because they do not acquaint you with what happened historically in this so-called country. Everybody's saying, well, I want to get back my sovereignty. Well, if you knew that, it never left you. And you're talking about those who want to expatriate and they want to become stateless. Well, then, if you're stateless, you're an outlaw. See, so these are things that people don't understand, and they look up terms. They don't understand that these are two different jurisdictions, and even though you may have a word that looks the same and is spelled the same, they have two different meanings. And because you only have one understanding of that word, one definition of that word, and then you start to develop your program of trying to put together your documents, not realizing the time, place, space, and plane that we're in, you basically are setting yourselves up for disaster, because you don't understand, you haven't been taught the due course of law. There's a bubble, and this due course of law means things change as you go over time. So with that, I'm now going to go ahead and open it up for those who have questions now that I make that statement.
Okay, here I am. I'm the first one that came in with the question. Now, who
may I ask, who are you, may I ask?
Yeah, and who is this? Who am I speaking with?
I'm asking the question, who are you?
This is Alan D., and who am I speaking with?
This is Tommy. That's who
Tommy?
it is. Yes.
Tommy? Okay. Tommy, a question for you. What is the highest jurisdiction to operate in?
The highest jurisdiction to operate in is the office of man. You've heard David Clarence say that in a sense. That's one thing I will give him credit. That is the highest office to operate in.
Okay.
Because for men, you remember that men and women are the stewards. They were given responsibility.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Thanks, Tommy. I was just testing your knowledge. Thank you.
Okay.
That is not correct, though.
Okay. Well, that's your opinion.
Yep. It's a fact. Okay.
Well,
thanks.
Well, like I said, that you and see that's what I'm talking about.
You're promoting going to class and stuff, right? Are you holding class? See, I got to test someone's knowledge. Pardon me?
I'm saying what now? What did you say?
I have to test someone's knowledge before I decided to go to class with someone. So, is it your class that's holding, or someone else is holding the class?
No, I will be conducting the class. I will be the instructor in the school.
Okay, I'm glad I tested
the school.
Okay, good. I'm glad I tested your knowledge before I decided to attend your class. Thank you.
What is the highest office to you?
That was a legitimate question. Equity does not aid a volunteer.
Whoever asked that question and who just interacted with me, you were asked a question. What do you feel is the highest office? No response.
I didn't say the highest office. I said, what is the highest jurisdiction to operate in? That's what I said.
Okay,
Sure.
And you're okay. So you're saying trust, and you're saying basically because I didn't give you the answer that you wanted in your exact words that I'm not valid. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just testing your knowledge before I attend your class. That's all.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't aware of
that.
So
once again, if you think that the highest jurisdiction to operate in is office of man, you're wrong.
I am wrong. Okay. Well, that's your opinion.
Therefore, I won't be attending your class. I'm out. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Have a nice day.
This question, though, what do you believe the highest jurisdiction is? Because that was a legitimate question that he asked. Can you return the question? What do you believe the highest jurisdiction is?
When you say what is the highest jurisdiction, you elaborate. Tell me what you think. Tell me, because you just asked me what the highest jurisdiction is. I'm dealing with two jurisdictions here. Let me finish. We're dealing with jurisdictions here that affect. Let me.
I'm working on it right now.
Now, when we're talking about jurisdiction, what hits us in the face every day is that jurisdiction. One is called the democracy. One is called the republic. I'm not interested in any other jurisdictions that you think that you guys want to talk about. I'm talking about the republic and I'm talking about the democracy. Those are the two jurisdictions that currently affect us today. And if you don't understand the distinction between those two and how they function, I don't care what you say. You can come out of here, you are going to get ensnared. So those are the two jurisdictions that I wish to speak on, is that which is called the republic or original jurisdiction. Can you please mute yourselves out? Star 6. Those are the two jurisdictions which I am going to discuss. Now, if you have another jurisdiction that you want to talk about or discuss, that's fine, because the course material is based upon those jurisdictions that affect you on a daily basis.
How about the temporary war powers jurisdiction that's in effect currently?
I don't know I'm not here to discuss the temporary war powers in effect, because if you know who you are, you'll know that those war powers does not have a direct effect on you if you know who you are and where you are. Those war powers, that jurisdiction only pertains to that corporation called United States and all of its 1948 states and all its political and administrative subdivisions. That's who that applies to. It does not apply to those who are one of we the people of the several states. It does not apply to them.
One here concurs.
Right. There are two jurisdictions that are foreign to each other. But if you somehow, via your contract, everything basically begins in the Republic. I'm not just regurgitating anything, and the Republic is supposed to be based upon reality, not a fiction. And it all begins with getting you to abandon via your signature, your silence, and your use. That's what's happening, and not being able to properly identify yourself and your law form, and not being able to express your political will. That's what's getting your asses ensnared. That's what is happening. None of that. I had a conversation with a woman the other day, and she was talking about taxes and that Americans are not required to pay taxes in the 16th Amendment. I don't need to quote the 16th Amendment because I know who I am. If I'm not a U.S. citizen and there is no nexus between me and that system with a contract or via my my conduct or my silence, I don't have a problem with them. Every time you go to court, if you understand that you are being made an offer and you have to know how to handle that situation, because that system will come at you in many different directions to get you ensnared. And if you don't understand how subtle it is, they got you. So that military, the things that military jurisdiction that we're speaking of, and everybody's out there saying, well, we have to get our sovereignty back. And how about you never left it? And they know that. But they got to get you to come in here, and you start saying, I want to expatriate. Well, when you say you want to expatriate, you've already admitted that you're there or that you were there. And in terms to expatriate, there's grounds and terms which must be fulfilled before you expatriate. Internal Revenue Service, if I'm not mistaken, will say you're still responsible for 10 years taxes, and you better have a place to land your ass. Once you expatriate, you better have another country. Okay, because they don't want you in the corporation anymore. It doesn't mean that you can't be one of we the people of the several states. And that's what people are having problems. They don't understand what state of California, state of Texas is in its relations to the state of Texas, the state of California. They're not able to make that distinction. So therefore, they go out here and they don't understand the difference. They don't understand that these words mean different things at different times in different places. A word, those words in 1933 or before 1933 in the Republic has a totally different meaning today in what is considered to be a democracy. Everyone is presumed to be born a U.S. citizen. And if you say nothing and they do these things and you don't protest or you don't make it known what your will is, you're in it. Silence is acquiescence. And this is what all the gurus out there are telling you. They're going with all these processes, but they're not giving you the historical basis. They don't tell you what happened in 1913. They don't tell you what happened in 1933 as to why you are in the situation that you're in.
So would one concur that we're being basically ran by two statutes?
Well, I wouldn't say. Well, if you're a U.S. citizen and you've entered territorially to the United States, yeah, you're being ran by statutes. But if you haven't,
we're being operated through our implied consent.
Pardon me?
We're entering into contracts through our consent. It's all by
Correct.
consent. It's all contracts.
Correct. And that's why one here said equity does not aid a volunteer. We're volunteering right into the system.
Exactly.
Right. But the thing is that what I'm saying is, and I say this very damn confidently, what I have to offer is a blueprint. And it has to be taught in modules. Everybody's just coming out there, they're giving you, saying this is a process, you try it, they don't back it up, they can't show you why it works or why it doesn't work. I'm not here to try to control the estate. I'm not here to make you promises that you can get money. My thing is that if you're able to see what's going on, you're making money because you're saving yourself from all the heartache and spending money on processes that do not work. When this first course is over, we deal with land tax, we deal with sales tax, we deal with when we deal with the court processes, because people, the first thing they do is when they make their mistake is when you have an encounter. A lot of this can be done away with. You can stop them dead in their tracks at the first encounter if you know who you are and where they are. No one can compel you to contract. No one can compel you to your political will. So if you don't know how to express your will, then you're in it. And why are you in it? Because something happened in 1933 where the people decided that they wanted to experiment in democracy. So from that point on, everyone born was deemed to be born a U.S. citizen. And if you don't understand that, and if you don't know how to deal with that, if you don't know how to identify yourself and express your political will with that presumption hanging out there, you're toast. But if you know how to attach yourself to the superior law form that they have already agreed to uphold, everybody says, well, they don't follow their oath. No, they don't have to follow their oath. If you enter into their court system and you have submitted to their jurisdiction, they're no longer bound by their oath. They're operating by their employee contract. And this is why people say, well, I do this, they just roll all over you. Well, yeah, we know why they roll all over you, because you go in their court, you submit to their jurisdiction, and then you want to question their jurisdiction. That's not the key. They must give you, the Supreme Court says before they could do this experiment in democracy, they must give you due process of law. And they do that when they ask you to state your name and how do you plead. And if you state your name and how do you plead, they just gave you due process right there to identify yourself, express your political will, and attach yourself to a law form. And since you didn't do that, it's presumed that you are a U.S. citizen. Now that judge, who is supposed to act as a referee, he now has been empowered by the sovereign. Who is the sovereign in the democracy? It is the legislature. Who is the sovereign in a republic? It is the man and the woman. So when you enter into it, if you don't make the claim today, prior to 1933, you didn't have to identify yourself. You didn't have to declare your political will. It's only when this monster came into effect and the switch was done, because not one sovereign said at that time, we don't want this experiment in democracy. It's set on the books for 20 years. Now you have prescription. Now it's believed, even though it wasn't ratified, the agents put that on the books. The principal said nothing, so it is deemed that this is the kind of system they want. And so if you're not able to recognize democracy and do certain things in advance, do everything, have everything in the premises, you're going to be toast. So those who are paying taxes, they're paying taxes because they volunteered, or they're saying they haven't, if they haven't signed anything, 1040, or they're being accused by the Internal Revenue Service. Internal Revenue Service says, oh, he has a Social Security number, this is his location, this is his address. Well, they're saying, well, you're a citizen, you're required to pay taxes. Why? Because you're responsible for the debts of the corporation. Okay? Now, how about if you were not a U.S. citizen? How about you didn't have a contract with them? How about there was no controversy in which it needed to be solved? Because anytime you go into their courts, any application that you fill out, all this stuff, and all these things, people saying, well, you fill out this application and you send it to the government here. That is all you're doing. You're creating a nexus, and you are abandoning the republic. You are abandoning your God-given, private, unalienable rights. You have just abandoned God, and you have entered territorially, and they got your ass. I don't care what kind of paper you put up. You can make all the commercial statements that you want to. The bottom line, that judge in that situation, there's a difference between a trial by jury and a jury trial. The court systems in the republic is totally different than that court system in the democracy. In the republic, it's the jury that determines all the facts, that determines the facts and makes the law. Even though there may be a law on the book, the jury has the right to nullify it. When you are in the democracy, primarily the judge has the authority. He has been given authority from Congress, who is the sovereign.
I got a question about the jury aspect. How? Because I've been through a couple of jury trials and or trial by jury, whatever you want to call it, the statutory variety. And how were you in order to get a trial that what you're talking about? You have to have informed citizenry. Yes.
You're absolutely right. But the fact of the matter is, who are you, and what citizenry are you talking about? Because if you are a U.S. citizen,
for you to get one of these jury trial, you would have to find people that are in the know, so to speak. Yes.
Yes, it will start there, but there's something that takes place before that. Is you got to know who you are first, and you have to set the trial. You have to be your own lawyer. You can't go into their court system, and you can't go into their court system and expect certain things to be done. Usually, the caption of a case will determine the time, place, space, and plane. Time, place, space, and plane. Those are very important. Ponzi versus Fessenden. I'm going to say that again because it talks about the planes, the time, place, space, and plane. It talks about the jurisdiction. So if you wanted a court of record, which is what we call original jurisdiction, if you want a court of record, you will be hard-pressed to find a jury out there that is of American nationals, or that operate in conjunction in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America. You're not going to find that. So you are the sovereign in that court. And you, if you know that, you now have that magistrate, his hands are tied because he cannot operate under his employment agreement. He has to operate under the oath that he's sworn to uphold. That is your law form. That's where your remedy is, not under the U.S. Constitution and its crap. That's not where your remedy is. Your remedy is in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America. That's where your remedy is.
Hey, Tommy.
Yes.
Do you know what case law is?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what case law is?
Do I know what case law is? Which case? What case law are you talking about? Are you talking about case law?
Any and all case law. Do you know what it is?
I understand case law. I thought you had already made the decision you're not going to participate or attend.
Do you know what case law is?
So,
do you know what case law is?
No, answer. I'm saying this, sir.
Case law is mere opinion. Remember you told me it was my opinion earlier? That's what it is. It's mere opinion, okay?
Listen, I've heard that shit that you're talking about, that it's mere opinion. It is not. You have
yes,
to learn
it is. Mere opinion, and the courts will rule you damn way they want to rule.
Listen, this is what I'm telling you. If you, this is
do
my
you
call.
know that you're not supposed to be in those courts? Do you know that?
Let me explain this to you. I know that. Apparently, you don't know.
Why are you talking about being in court then?
Because he brought up the question about court, dumbass. He brought it up about being in court.
No, you were talking about court before he even came. Before you even started talking about it.
Listen, hold up.
Dumbass, right back to you.
Here's what we're going to do.
Dumbass, right back to you.
No, you hold a call. You go hold your call, and you put forth. Well,
you're saying something. You want people to attend your seminars.
Okay, now back to where I was.
Tommy, if I may interject, calm down, breathe, brother man, breathe. This is not good. This is not equitable. Just breathe. It's okay. You've taken care of it, it appears. Just calm down. It's all right.
Well, you know, the thing of it is that upsets me is that, you know, people put forth these things and they want to talk about something that they've done. and they do not offer you source materials. They do not offer you case material. They basically operate off of what they think is correct. This has been the problem in the past. That has always been the problem. Hearsay, absolutely. So there are people, I think Ben and Joyce them and Wayne is on the call. I just get really frustrated because I get so sick of the BS out there. It is so much BS out there, and sometimes people just want to, they don't want to come to the reality that it's BS because they're hoping to strike it rich. And that is...
It says in Scripture, it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. I want to get into heaven. That would be my riches, okay? The money or value or whatever is secondary, okay? There is really no money to speak of. There's only, like you said, monopoly, Federal Reserve notes, evidence of debt.
So the reason why I call this the blueprint, because if you have the foundation, there is showing you how to come out of her and showing you how to always take control of the situation. If you know who you are and you know how to attach yourself to that document, which is already in place, I don't care. The United States Corporation, it is basically, if it has been created, it still is bound by the Constitution of the United States of America. And if you are the beneficiary of the Constitution of the United States of America, and they could never defeat you. They are foreign. They have what I call the battle of the forums. The forum is the place. There are two different places. But if you are in the right place and you have attached yourself to the superior law form, the law of the land, okay, not this U.S. Constitution which hovers above the land, the air, and the water, if you do not enter into contract with them, if you don't remain silent and you're not, and you know how to give your signature, they can never defeat you. Never defeat you, because you are the beneficiary of the superior contract which they've taken an oath to uphold and protect you. But the minute you leave there and you started contracting directly with the corporation, this is how the corporation is able to gain control, because they get you to traverse or go around the Constitution of the United States of America and enter directly into relations with it. That's how they get you to circumvent it. So now, when they pull up the contract, they see a general capacity signature there. When you place your signature on a document, what you're saying is, I make this mine. So if they have generated the document and you place your signature on there, what you're saying is, I have abandoned the Republic. I have abandoned my God-given unalienable rights. I have abandoned my status as sovereign, and I have adopted that of a citizen subject slave. So in their court system, and that's why I was trying to explain the difference between the court system, between a nisi prius court and a court of record. And when this person got on, it says, well, why are you talking about the court? He himself doesn't clearly understand that each system has its own court process. And if you are, in fact, the sovereign, you basically come in and you want a court of record, which is of your peers. Okay, these are people who have the same status and capacity that you are. But since today it is deemed that everything is in the democracy, you won't be able to find a jury of your peers. So in that particular situation, you are sovereign and you dictate how that court runs. And if that magistrate attempts to do things, you set him straight, he can be sanctioned in a whole bit. They understand that because you brought your law form and your remedy to the court. Well, if you abandon and accept their law form, then he has been empowered with the authority to determine the controversy. And this is what people don't understand. There are two distinct planes of jurisdiction. And if you don't understand that, and you realize, do I want to be a sovereign? Am I a sovereign under the Republic? Is that my role? That's my status capacity? Yes, it is. Well, do you have to make a decision? Do I want to be over here in a democracy, okay, and be a citizen subject slave? See, there are no sovereign citizens in the democracy because the sovereignty is held by the legislature. So when you go over there and you say you're a sovereign citizen, we don't see any documentation. You're not able to articulate your position. As being so, you're not able to address your political will, then boom, we got you your oxymoron. But if you're coming from the right law form and you know your status and capacity, and you inflict that contract on them that they agree to uphold, which is called the Constitution of the United States of America, they've got a problem. It's the thing of it is, the thing of it is, they make this whole fiction appear as if it is the original. They say born in sin, shaped in iniquity. So when you come into the world, you're being trained by your parents who haven't probably been taught. You go through a school system where you're not being properly taught. It's all based upon deception. They never want you to truly know who you are. So when you go into these courts and you feel like, oh, I'm going to these courts, I'm going to plead not guilty, or I'm going to challenge jurisdiction, I'm going to say something, that's all wrong. The bottom line is you must tell them who you are up front, and that it is never your intention to enter territorially, and that you do not consent. You do not consent, and you're not volunteering, and they've got a problem, because basically everything that they do, even if they think they got a contract with you, how was that contract obtained? That contract was obtained. It was obtained through fraud, deception. They never told you the true nature of the form. It was misrepresentation. And all those are all affirmative defenses. And so if that was the case, if that's how it's done, if fraud, misrepresentation, they didn't reveal the true nature of the form, if those things were not talked about, it vitiates the contract. It never took place. It never happened. But if you don't know how to assert your affirmative defenses and know that whole world operates on fraud, and you are the sovereign, you're the one who's been given the authority by God, you're his steward, and if you sign a document saying that they exist, then they exist because you're the steward. You're the one with the power. You said so. So in a sense, they're using your abilities to create is to recognize this fiction. And that's what you do. You place your signature on documents. You make their document in their law form yours. You have waived, and then you try to go back in the contract and say, well, I'm sovereign. No, you waived. So in this particular transaction, if you don't know that transaction was done with fraud, you don't know how to deal with that, then you're in the contract, and they bring you into their court where there's a controversy. The judge now says, the hell with the oath of office. I don't have to deal with that. I'm now going to operate under my employee contract. And since we are a legislatively created statutory commercial enforcement system, which means I'm nothing but a big collections agency, we're going to make the charges, and we're going to create the bill, and we're going to charge you up. That's what that system is about. It's about a transfer of your wealth. It's about making you think you're free and making you think you own things when actuality you don't. That's why they're taxing you, because they're taxing you for the benefit of being a part of their corporation. So now, if that's the case, we know that there'll be a collection agency and everything is done with fraud. What do I do to make sure that I don't enter? Okay, and that's what the first course covers. Who are you? Where are you? And who do you think you're dealing with? Many people don't know that. They can't even answer those questions.
So, in the instructions and the paperwork that one there does one use statutes at all?
Do I use statutes? No.
Okay.
That's the whole part about it. If you know who you are, you don't use statutes. You don't have to use their statute if you know who you are. Their statutes is only and their statute is designed in a sense to hold them at bay. So you already know you ultimately you know that you're operating according to supreme law of the land, but you can point it out to them that even in their own employment agreement, this is what they're supposed to do. They're in violation not only of the Constitution, failing to protect you, but they're in violation of their own their job description of what is required of them.
Tommy.
That's yes.
This is George, a private citizen of the United States of America, privately residing, privately domiciled within a non-military occupied private state, not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So, what is your thoughts on a bill in equity?
A bill in equity?
Yep.
My thoughts on it. I don't have an opinion in terms of the bill of equity on that, because it's not necessary for me. It's not something that's necessary for me in order for me to to express my will and what is necessary for me. That may be another arsenal. There's many answers out there, but the fact is I know how to contract. I know how to control those factors that they're seeking to get me to abandon. And as long as I know I'm in control of the elements, time, place, space, and plane, and I reserve all rights. I appreciate what you just said when you introduce yourself. But if you don't claim all rights, titles, remedies, immunities, and defenses, it's deemed that you have waived through your silence. The reason why the most other people are in the situation that they're in is because they have never said, not one damn time, I want my remedy and all my rights, titles, interests, remedies, and immunities as beneficiary in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America. So it's deemed. We know that this system is supposed to produce coin money, but how many people have objected to the use of Federal Reserve notes? If you use Federal Reserve notes, you can say you can state to me what you just said, and if I am a judge or you come before me and you just said all that you said, and you pull out a Federal Reserve note, and I ask you, do you use Federal Reserve notes? And you say yes, and you don't qualify why you use those. You just received the benefit. You just entered territorially to the United States. So many of these crafty judges will bring people in and ask them to pull out whatever money they have in their pocket. Because why? Because that dollar bill, that Federal Reserve note is a contract, and that contract, basically you're receiving a benefit of dischargement. But what did it say in the Republic? It says you must extinguish your debt, not discharge it. So you're taking on the benefit of dischargement through that dollar bill, which is through that Federal Reserve note. That is a contract, and we know that a silver certificate, when you were issued that in the Republic, it was just a certificate. You were supposed to present that to the Treasury or the bank and actually take physical coin. But when you go into the Republic, that Federal Reserve note is only going to get you another Federal Reserve note. You're discharging. So based upon that alone, you have entered territorially, and you have basically subject yourselves to their law form and their system.
Right. So exclusive equity is the law form.
Say that one more time.
Exclusive equity is the jurisdiction of the Republic, right?
Well, I don't.
Marshall. That's democracy.
Well, if that's the way you define it, yes, I am always, or you are always in the Republic, and whether you know it or not, they know that. That's why they have to induce you into abandoning. You are always in the Republic. You are always on the soil, but you have to know these things, and if you don't know that, they get you to abandon and into their court system and into it. See, let me give you a case in point, a situation. You can have an automobile that does not have so-called their registration. Okay? You also could be commandeering that automobile without a driver's license. Wayne wants to say something, but after I finish this, because he can relate to this. The bottom line is they feel, well, you can't drive in state of Georgia without having your car registered, and you can't drive in state of Georgia. I didn't say the state of Georgia. I said state of Georgia, okay, without a driver's license.
District of Georgia, yeah.
Now, so if you don't say anything at that point, and you don't know how to handle that ticket,
I would agree with them.
You just agreed that you enter territorially to our law firm and you are a subject. Now let's just say you knew how to handle that situation. So basically, if you didn't have identification, so-called their identification, if you have identification, or even if within that case, if you know how to handle it, goes nowhere. So they want to get you to sign a ticket. So that's a contract. So I'm not going to sit there. I'm 6'1.5". I live in Georgia, and I'm not going to live on Georgia. Ain't no way in the hell you're going to find me in some country out in the rural areas, and I'm going to be on the side of the street trying to educate this good old boy about the law. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing it. That doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. I know how to handle the damn contract. I know what is and what's not my signature, and I know where and when that signature is taking place. Notice that I said where. Okay, that's key. So in that little contract that he presents to me, I take control of that contract by knowing how to affix my signature and saying where that transaction took place. So now, when they say they want me to make an appearance, I've already taken care of the ticket where I do not physically appear in their court. Okay, based upon how I handle that contract. They don't have a clue. They can't do anything with it. So if they say they're going to confiscate the car, well, they can't really confiscate the car because it doesn't have tags on it and it doesn't have a license plate that allows them to do that. But a cop would try to do that if you volunteer and you don't know what the hell you're doing. Now, as far as taking you into physical, if you don't have identification, everybody thinks that they must have state identification, which you do not. Okay? You have identification. Then they have another problem. They said, well, hell, what the hell are we going to do? We're still going to write you a ticket. Well, they can write a ticket all they want to, but you can control that situation. Because guess what? They entered on the Republic. They can't come outside their federal states under Title 50 and run and enforce their commercial scheme upon you. But if you are thinking state of Georgia is the same as the state of Georgia and you can't make that distinction, you fall right into their trap. Now, here's how they get you again. So let's say you handle everything correctly at curbside. So the next thing they're saying is we're going to get you to come to court. It doesn't say that you're guilty, but you're agreeing to make an appearance. It doesn't say that that you're guilty of anything. But here's how they trick you. So when you go in, you go to court. You haven't really entered a plea. You haven't been found guilty. But the minute they get you in there and they ask you your name, and ask you how do you plead. The minute you do that and you don't claim, retain, and invoke all your rights, titles, privileges, remedies, immunities, and defenses as one of the people of the United States of America, you just abandon. You entered the controversy, and the judge is there to see if you breached. And if you breach, he's going to find you. He's going to compel you to specific performance, and that is either do jail time and pay a fine.
Well, yeah, he's trying to determine the heir, beneficiary, trustee within the constructive trust that's being raised at that point in time.
Exactly. So if you know how...
Then you're going to acquiesce to being the all-cap surety, and then if you answer yes to do you understand the charges, meaning that you're saying, yeah, I'm going to pay, and then how do you plead not guilty? Plead means, sin. So what you're going to do is you just created the controversy for the court right there with those two simple questions. Do you understand the charges? And you go, yeah, which means I'm going to pay. And then you plead not guilty, which means no, I'm not going to pay. That's what establishes the controversy that the court acts on.
Yeah, you're right. That establishes the controversy. But the bottom line of it, but
now,
here's
the instrument that's issued, the information, the traffic ticket, you could sign it at the place of issue for full accord and satisfaction, and you take care of that negotiable instrument on the spot.
Here's where I need to interrupt you, because this is really not about, and I want to say this, that's not the approach that I teach.
Oh, okay. Can I say something about this?
Go ahead, Wayne. I'm sorry, I forgot about you.
I was arrested on April 3rd. and they held me for 20 hours. And every stage of the process is an opportunity to consent to what they're doing. And all I did was not consent to anything. I didn't allow them to use the name. I didn't consent to anything. So they couldn't get a controversy. And then they attempted.
But before you did that, Wayne, did you not tell them that you have reserved all your rights? That you reserved all?
Oh yeah. I let them know I don't consent to any of this. I'm reserving all my rights. So yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about the court process. It's not whether you say I don't understand. Yes, that's part of it. But the bottom line is you have to put them on notice that you are one of we the people, and your law form is such and such, and you're the beneficiary of that. And they, as agents, seeing you, they have to see you as sovereign now. You're making them operate according to their oath of office. And they can't compel you. So the judge will say things at you to try to scare you, or he's doing it for the peanut gallery. He has to say certain things to you so that the peanut gallery doesn't catch on. But when you go in there and you're asking him questions, and you don't do a plea, you don't understand. You say, "This is who I am. It is never my intent to enter territorially to the United States and contract. It is never my intent, and I don't volunteer." That kills that whole process right there. It's going no further.
Came to the court on special deposit for future security of my interest, and nail it right there if you really want to.
That's your approach. But I'm saying the what I teach is much simpler than that.
Okay.
Georgie, no commingling.
Yeah, no commingling.
Exactly. You are totally you're not dealing with you're not dealing with that. Bottom line, you're going in there and you're saying, "This is who the hell I am, and I don't silently acquiesce to any of their crap." They've got a problem because it's your silent acquiescence, it's your signature, and it's your use is how they're trapping you. And when you go before that judge is operating either under his oath or his employee contract with the corporation. And you maintain him under his oath of office. If he goes, he'll say things on the record. But if you know how to use that, everything he says can be used as an act of treason because you have identified who you are. You're no longer silent. What happened in 1933 is they switched to a system, and they didn't require you to do anything. And by you haven't done anything, it says that you're in the system.
The amendment of the Trading with the Enemy Act with the Emergency Bank Relief.
Exactly. It's silence. It's silence is acquiescence. So what they're saying is, even though the president is supposed to, he's not really the so-called president. He's not really in office. He's breached his duty because he's required to print coin. Okay? Yep. He's required. And so if you are in the Republic and someone's trying to charge you with something, and they're saying basically they're doing it in Federal Reserve notes. Well, when did you agree to use a Federal Reserve note? If you don't say anything, then boom, they got you. But if you say, "No, this is who I am, this is my law form, and it should be coin money," and I never assented to that, they got a problem because what happens? You have a battle of the two jurisdictions, and you're always going to win because you are the beneficiary of the superior contract. This is what people don't understand. So when you use these commercial processes, all you're doing is opening yourself up. You're using their processes. You're still within the matrix. When you step outside of that, it doesn't go anywhere. There can be no commencement of a transaction. You kill it right in its footsteps. So it doesn't require someone to have to go out and learn the UCC and all the commercial stuff. Knowing where you are at all times, who you are, you can shut them down at the point of contact. When that officer approaches your car, you tell him, "Welcome to the Republic." Because why do we say that? That corporation is a fiction. It does not exist unless you, the sovereign, says it does. I want to ask you all a question. Did the United States ever have a constitutional convention? Did it?
No.
It did. So if it didn't have a constitutional convention, it does not exist. The only way it exists, just like in the Matrix, it says the Matrix feeds off of your energy and the heat from your body. That system feeds off of you due to your signature, your silence, and your use. That's how your ignorance basically is how it perpetuates itself. So me just laying that foundation right there, if I know who the hell I am, where I am, and that I got a superior contract over here, and basically I assert that, and that I don't silently acquiesce to all this BS that's going on out there, I kill it. And I kill it in its infancy. I don't have to go out here and learn all these processes that people are putting up and say this is how you use the commercial code. No, Scripture tells you you cannot serve two masters. You're going to love one or you're going to hate the other. Either you're going to come completely out of commerce, and what I'm showing you is how to come out of her, and in doing so, you are saving yourself vast amounts of money. And you'll also be able to, and those monies that you're saving by learning how to contract, you see what I'm saying, you could have a better life. Not saying, okay, well, and if you do find out how to control the estate, well, hell, you need to basically, if you have access, to control those Federal Reserve notes, you should be using a system to bring yourself out of there anyway. Because all that system is about, it's about transfer of wealth. It's the same way when Jesus, he approached Jesus. He says, bow down, I'll give you all your eyes can see. And Jesus said, get me behind me, because he already knew it was his. Yep. And if you look at any of these pictures, you'll see that there's always a devil with a pen at the crossroad making a promise, telling you he'll do, if you bow down to him, he'll give you all of these things. And so that's what's happening basically out there with a lot of these processes. Whether they know it or not, basically Satan is saying, I will give you all this if you only bow down to me. So what I'm saying to you is they know that the superior contract, that's why it's called the supreme law of the land, if you're on the land. If you're not on the land, then you are considered to be in this fictional world called the democracy, which is above the air, the land, and the water. They cannot enter territorially. You could be basically next to each other, but that policeman, he's from another jurisdictional plane. And the only way that he can enforce his commercial scheme on you is to get you to abandon the republic. So that's why when they approach you, even if you talk to someone out there today, they are believed to be in the democracy. Mm-hmm. Which is controlled by the legislature, who has all of the sovereignty. That's how they're doing it. They're luring you into this. So you go through all the application. We went through this stuff with David Clarence in the 98 number, and everybody was saying, okay, you got to change it. One of the flaws of what he was saying is you got to change your status. Okay, well, I already know what my status is. I'm not admitting that my status was something else. Mm-hmm. So to say that I have to change my status and I have to go and apply for EIN number, what you're doing was when you fill out those forms, you are making a declaration of your desire to enter territorially to United States, especially when you give a general capacity signature. The United States is bankrupt. It's a bankrupt corporation. It does not have the capacity to even contract. But if you are the sovereign, which they recognize you are, you have God-given powers to create or animate. Animate means to create life. You animate things by executing it or placing your signature there. Mm-hmm. So they know that. You say we exist, so therefore we exist. You agree to this. Like I said, the woman, she said, I got the 16th Amendment, every American citizen born here. I said, well, where is here? Right. Okay, where is here? Are you exactly? It's presumed that you're born in the corporation, that you are a fiction. The minute you're born, there's a registration process that takes place for that body that's called the vessel, and it is deposited into the corpus of that trust. And what they do is they give you a certificate, or they give you some kind of registration, and what that registration says, that they have an interest in that vessel. Mm-hmm. That's what it says. So when you no longer want to be a part of it, That's why you send their document back to them telling them you don't want to partake in their benefit, and they have it on record. Okay, they have those things on record. They're like, oh man. You see, but most people, like I said, they're being trained, and that's how the system sucks you in with saying, oh, we can give you money, we can give you a black card, but in that black card, we're going to dictate to you how you use it. Well, if they're going to dictate to you how you use the black card, whatever they're saying, then are you truly autonomous?
Well, as the true owner and beneficiary, right, you have primary money, and primary money is different than money. And according to the Coinage Act of 1792, if you really want to look at it, because that defines a dollar as 23.2 grains of gold per dollar.
Exactly.
Version on that. That's a private American citizen's money.
See, the thing is that people don't realize. I want to make this very simple. Private means you are private. You are operating under. You are having a allegiance or connection to the laws of nature and nature's God. That's the private. They tell you that their system is the public because they call it public policy.
Yep. You look at police. POLICE. Policy.
Exactly. Their policy. The police came from the fact that they're policy enforcement officers. Okay.
There ain't what's an Odie or whatever? What's that show? Way back when. There ain't no more of them walking the streets.
So, I mean, just in terms of land registration, all of those things, if you understand at its very base, all this stuff starts with signature, silence, and use.
That's the same thing.
That's what it's.
Brother.
I keep saying it over and over again. Ben and Joyce, are you on the call? Ben, Joyce, are you on the call?
Yep, I have to unmute.
Hey, Joyce.
Oh,
hey.
If you care, you're under no obligation. Can you share your experience? I've been working with Ben and Joyce for the last year and a half, or maybe or so.
Yeah.
And if she wants to share her experience with you, if you will, Joyce, go ahead. If not, I don't want to put you and Ben on the spot. But I work very closely with them, and if anybody has met them, you know that they're not pushovers, and I'm not paying them to say anything. But many of these processes out there, like I said, I'm not out to attack them. I'm merely there to provide you with the information, and you will begin to see the flaws that are going on. You can't serve masters. You are in one place or the other. But go ahead, Joyce. I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. What would you want to say? You want to say anything, Ben? That's not right now. So I will. I will say what Tommy taught and why I was so taken with him so quickly is because all of these things you've been hearing, he's making his claims. Yep. But when he's teaching, you will be required to study and review all the source documents that verify this and know them. You aren't just not ever given Tommy's statement and if so, you have the right to hit him over the head with a 2 or 4. He doesn't ever do that. He gives you authorities, sources, documentation, and because of that, I was able to let go. He said early on the call, if you don't have to let go, but if you could just set aside what you think you know for a bit, because of the documentation he gave and the solid foundation, I was able to not just set that aside, but actually integrate it. Once I got that foundation in place, integrate it back in and know what to keep and what to let go of, know what could actually serve me and what would hurt me. For that, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for the fact that my land is now secure, and I have a very interesting response back from the county. When I finally did it the right way, which was Tommy's way, I had another teacher who was helping with patents, and Tommy was looking it over, and one day he called and said, Joyce, there's a flaw in this. And my thought was, what? What are you talking about? This man has his land patented, and it stands, and it stood for years against challenge by the state. But later on, I understood why it had stood for years. This guy is absolutely brilliant in statutory courts, which most of us are not. But the flaw Tommy found was so simple, so basic. And when I made that change and filed it with the county recorder, they sent the letter back to us to our non-domestic address. Now, I don't know if any of you know what that means. I don't know how many times any of you have tried to get the government officials to use your non-domestic address. I have done it many, many times over the years and never once been successful. And when I filed those papers properly, they sent that back to my non-domestic address. What Tommy has taught us is valid and it works, and I'm grateful for it. I'm more than grateful for the information. I'm grateful that I can stand on it. I can meet a policeman on the side of the road and not turn to jelly. I know what to do, and I know how to come out of it. And that's exciting to me.
And it doesn't require you to learn all these complex things. If
Nope.
you know exactly, if you know, and Joyce, she meant location, not address, but that's
right.
what she meant. But we have been trained, and and what I'll be able to, once we lay the foundation, and that's part of the course, is to go over the processes that are being put out there after the foundation is laid, and you'll be able to see, oh shit, that's how that system functions. It is the matrix. The matrix thrives off the heat from your body and electricity, where that system thrives off the fact that it creates paperwork in terms of time, place, space, and plane that is territorial to their jurisdiction. So when you go out and fill out their forms and their applications and not knowing how to control that document, that's what's doing it to you. So if anybody is telling you, oh, we're foreign, we got a foreign central bank of issue, we got this and we got that, I'm telling you, when you fill out that EIN number to get that, when you fill that application out to get that application is saying, hey, we want to participate in your world, assign us a number. And that's exactly what goes on. The whole registration scheme out there, you have been told that you need to register your land. Or when you take your land and you buy a home, they take you through an escrow company. That escrow company is their agent, and their agent is designed to make sure that that property or whatever it is placed in the corpus of that experiment in democracy in the corporation. And they give you a sheet of paper. You're thinking, oh, well, this shows that I got control. No, it only shows that you are a user, and it shows that they have the ultimate power in how that property is supposed to be used. They get you to do it to yourselves. Every document that they create, the language in there says that I am in the democracy. I am a U.S. citizen. It's not you. But let me stop here. Let me explain it one more way. Just think of United States as a play or a book. And we know in plays you have characters. And those characters, the scripts have already been written for those characters. And what happens is an actor comes in and he animates that character. He animates that character according to how the script has already been written. This is what they get you to do, to abandon reality. You cannot bring your rights, titles, remedies, immunities, and defenses with you because that's your own script. You're the author, and you get to write that script. You get to write your contract. And they know that one of your most powerful God-given unalienable rights is your right to unlimited contract. So when they draw up the contract, it is designed.
Railroad. I thought Erie versus Railroad destroyed that.
I'm sorry?
Erie versus Railroad, did it not destroy your unlimited right to contract?
No, it did not. It absolutely did not.
Well,
and Joyce has some experience with that. She could tell you about that and what that means. It did not destroy your right. They can. What don't you understand about you have God-given unalienable rights that cannot be taken from you. It cannot be liened. What you do is you abandon. And the way that you abandon those is by agreeing to terms and conditions that put you at a disadvantage. That's how this is all done. So let me finish this before we go there. So this whole thing is a play. They get you to abandon, and now you become the actor for the character in their play where the script has already been written, and it's been written to your disadvantage. You're figuring like, well, this is who I am. No. You agreed to come in and be the actor and be the surety. That's all you are, is the surety. And since you came into my play, I'm the judge, and I get to determine how this play is going to operate. And therefore, I say this is the way it's going to go. That's the way it's going to go. And then I'm going to bring you before a U.S. citizen jury who don't know their butts from the hole in the ground, and we're going to present evidence a certain way. We're not going to let all of the facts come out. Because remember, this system is set up to do things 180 degrees opposite of how it should be done. This is why the magistrate sits in the middle of the court and the jury sits to the side. Whereas if it were a court of record, the jury would be sitting in the middle and the magistrate sits to the side. And if you go look at The Devil and Daniel Webster, that's telling you something. You watch that movie, the old version, and you'll see that the jury is sitting in the middle because they the ones who have the authority to hear all the facts and determine the law. That world that operates in the corporation is 180 degrees opposite. So you have to understand that the same terms, which are called terms of art, even though they look alike and they're spelled alike, they have a different meaning in terms of time, place, space, and plane. If you're in their plane of jurisdiction, it has a meaning that's pretty much the opposite of time, place, space, and plane, and the meaning in the Republic. Mm-hmm. That's the whole idea. They can't come there. They got to get you. Remember the snake, or which is symbolic of Satan, he could not go into the Garden Eden. He stood outside of the Garden Eden, and he was trying to induce them to come out of it. And that's what you're realizing. You're feeling and realizing that you are always in the Republic. And you must make that known because they cannot compel your political will. When you don't say anything, it's deemed that you accept the status quo and you accept this experiment in democracy that's being ran by Satan. So everybody said, well, why are you so religious? Because democracy, demos means people, crassy means to rule. Demos also has another derivation. It means demon, rule of the demon or the devil. And that's what people are missing. Your 501c3 churches, they are exemptions. What you're saying is we are 501c3. We're requesting exemption. You're admitting that you're there, that you're territorially there, and you're requesting that. Well, if you're under God's law, you are an exception, and they know that. They have no say-so over you. Why? How do we know that? Because the First Amendment, not of the U.S. Constitution, but the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States said, thou shalt make no law regarding religion or the free exercise thereof. They're bound by that. But if they get you to abandon that jurisdiction and you come under theirs, now they're saying, oh, we got you. And this is what I'm saying. I will put this on anybody out, on anyone's processes out there. If they are not if they're not giving you the historical perspective on what took place, and if many of you, some of you might know what happened in 1913 during the time in Christmas when they put certain legislation on the record, and it sat there for 20 years, and it became prescription. And that's how you got into democracy. It's not that they're doing anything evil. It's that you're doing it to yourself because you failed to do certain things. And that's what this course shows you is what's going on. And once you see it for yourself, you will begin to know that these people and their processes is flawed in the premises if they don't meet the criteria, if they cannot pass the litmus test.
I have a question.
Yes.
Has one there or Sister Joyce convened a court of equity?
No, I would stay out of court. Would you define equity as you're referring to it?
Yeah, exclusive equity. Let me put it to you this way. So when it comes into conflict between the rules of law at law and between the rules of exclusive equity, equity always prevails. It is written. I said earlier, equity will not aid a volunteer. That is a maxim of equity. Do you use those things?
No.
Okay.
Don't need to.
Right. She's absolutely correct, because when you know what your remedy is, you get to choose your remedy. And your remedy is in relation to the Constitution of the United States of America, and it's spelled out what must be done. If you look at, if you call it, what is that stop called? It's we were discussing stops, unreasonable search and seizures. We were looking at that.
Yep.
And here's a case in point. Terry stop. And there was another case. Well, Terry took place in 1968, was it? 60? Right. And the other case was 1961. Well, now when someone comes in and goes to court, whether it says, well, according to the U.S. Constitution and the Fourth Amendment that exists there, they're saying that a cop can do certain things and not be in violation of your Fourth Amendment, that he can approach you and frisk you and do the whole thing. Okay? So that's what they're saying. And when I saw off the bat, when it said Terry Stop 1968, I already knew that that case was referring to the democracy. Okay? And it tells me, because I know that after 1938, definitely after 1948, when they switched over all of the courts, they tell you that anything prior to 48, if I'm not mistaken, or 33, any case cites before, they can't hear it. It can't be used as evidence. You have what is called mixed and multiple jurisdictions. But I want to get back to the point. Take care of a multiplicity of that. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know about equity. That's something that you know very well. But I'm telling you, I don't do that because I hold them to the contract that they agreed to uphold, and when they took an oath, and they know that. And it's very simple. I tell them that
I do too.
Okay, and so the point of it is,
I don't use a contract. I use trust law.
Say that again now.
I says I don't use contract, Tommy. I don't use contracts. I use trust law.
Okay. Trust law, and when you talk about trust law, and you talk about a contract, everybody wants to say that trust law and contract law is different. They always wanted to say that the Constitution of the United States is but trust law, it is also contract. So the process that you use, I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just something that I choose not to use. I'm saying there's a simple thing there. There's that document, and I hold them to that. They have agreed to be bound by that. That is the difference. That's what makes the difference. That's where your power is. But what I was saying about the unreasonable search and seizure in the democracy or the experiment in democracy, they say, well, the cop can come up and touch you. Well, if you are one of we the people and you're the beneficiary of that contract, it says that they better have a damn sworn out affidavit, and it must be, they must have an affidavit that's been sworn out. They must give you due process of law. And to do that without having that warrant, I don't give a damn what it is. They cannot come and frisk you or cannot come and touch you unless there has been a warrant that's been done for that. There's no way of getting around it. See, that's the difference between the two. But if you listen to them on TV and you are in the corporation, then you're being programmed to think that they have a right to do that, because that's what they're saying. Amongst those who are citizen subjects, this is the way. But if you are one of we the people, they cannot do that. And what happens is when they do that, you basically, on its face, that's why you go to risk management, on its face, you're basically telling them that you breached. I'm going to risk management. You came on the soil. You held me. You detained me. You didn't have a warrant from my law firm, not their law firm, my law firm.
So, if you're say you were you're party to an instrument that you were intended to be covered by it, would that fall under trust law or contract?
If you I'll state that again.
Let's say the preamble for the posterity.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Constitution is a trust indenture.
Exactly.
So, if you are under trust law and you're party to an instrument, if you were intended to be covered by it for the posterity, then that's trust law.
And your point is?
I'm just making that statement.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but see, the thing is, I can dress up in a flag. I can have a gold star in the middle of my head, and I can go out here and enter into a contract territorially to the United States, and I have just waived all of that hard work.
Right. Yeah, you acquiesced.
Exactly. And that's what's killing the people. And when they get out here and say, well, on the private side, you can take that, on that private side, you can take that estate and do this, and you can fill out this and get a 98 number, and you can do all these things, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. You're still in commerce. Now, if you know how to handle your property, handle your land, and know how to conduct and create the document where everything is territorial to the United States, this is why land patents are important. If you understand the significance of land patents and how to obtain true ownership of that land, they're not going there. They need to see that there's a nexus. They need to see that there is a contract in place that allows them to, which says that you are part of their corporation, and therefore their revenue officers have a right to come there and to collect.
Right. If you look at all the titles that are out there, the quote-unquote Jesuit good and marketable title, which are all incomplete gifts anyway, you would have to, I don't even think you have to go back and look at the land patent. What you really have to do is look at the one who gave, the grantor, who gave the last valuable consideration before 1933, meaning coin, stamp, or lawful money. So before the bankruptcy, there were private citizens. Okay, the 1933 March 6th, before March 6th, when the offer was made on Proclamation 2039, and then on March 9th, when the offer was accepted and rushed through the Congress on Proclamation 2040, the one who gave the last lawful conveyance of that title was made by the grantee who gave the last lawful value to pay that title.
Okay, that we differ in that to some degree, but doing the land patent and tracing everything to the current, you are basically what you're saying is you're taking that which is created, which is handed down or letters patent, and that comes to you. You're tracing the whole history of that, and you're showing that from all the way back to when this thing came down or when this patent was granted, I am now making that claim. And when you're doing that, what you're saying is basically, this is the soil of the United States of America. You have no authority here. Your authority is only in the territories. That's where Congress operates. And then two, you have to understand that there's other documents that are involved in it as well. So,
right within the patent, you look though. I mean, you talk about the value of the land. All right, it's a stamp. You know, you look at the stamps, you look at the coin that was tendered, and one would say, I see what you're saying too about going back to the de jure land title, all the way back, or de jure, excuse me, and one thinks that you would just have to go back to the last conveyance that was done with the money of the land, i.e., the stamp or the coin. That's just an opinion, you know. I mean,
no, I'm not saying that what you're saying is. I'm not saying that what you. I'm not saying that what you're saying is incorrect. I'm just saying that differs a little bit, and the way and we way
see
we
what
did
I'm saying
it.
about the grantee grantor within the trust. I mean, the last one that had the lawful consideration is what I'm trying to say. You know, that would be the last one before 1933.
See, and like with a lot of these land or property registration,
right? They're all.
We don't want to get off on the point because there are some people here that don't I wouldn't say to speak to all, but they may not understand that. But what we're really trying to stay focused on is that what I'm trying to point out is that there are two jurisdictions out there, and you have to know who the hell you are, where you are, and what you're dealing with. That's what you have to understand. So if I come to you with a document and I'm looking at that document and I didn't create that document, but the way in which I want to protect myself is I'm going to do a counterclaim basically with my signature, and I'm going to state where my signature is being given.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when they see that you did not waive, that you did not abandon the Republic, and if there's ever a controversy, you get to choose your remedy, and your remedy is always going to be in relation to de jure or original jurisdiction. And now what they see is they see a battle of the two jurisdictions, and they can't win. Why? Because they took an oath, and number two, they do everything in fraud, and number three, they don't have the capacity to even contract because they are insolvent. And if you have that understanding right there, in any court situation, if you're dragged into a court, I didn't say that you voluntarily, but if you're dragged into a court or if they come onto the soil and arrest you, knowing that right there can save your behind. And now when they do that, they have just created a record that they violated your right to due process, that they violated your rights to private property. And they know that there's a heavy penalty to pay. So this is why risk management basically settles, because they don't want that going to court under diversity and a claim being made under diversity, and the whole damn cat is out the bag.
Right, yeah.
And see, so now what am I saying here? I'm saying, how am I saving you money? Because now you know you have a litmus test to look at all these processes and see that they are going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's all BS. And then when you learn how to basically handle your property, your land, how to deal with sales taxes, and how to construct your business affairs, because you have the right of contract. People tell you about common law. You have a right to common law. You have a right to use any law you damn want to. If you want to use statutory law, okay, you can do that. But no one can tell you what to do.
I'm at a legal disability. Not even the best lawyer can learn 60 million codes.
Exactly. Why would you want to put yourself there? Because if there's a controversy, right? Because if you put yourself there, the judge is going to come in and he's going to do what's best for the corporation. To hell with you.
That's right. You're nothing but an enemy, belligerent rebel.
That's what happened in marriage contracts. They come there and people think that, that it's between the man and woman. No, when you got that license, you involve the state, and the state is always going to do what's best for it.
Well, yeah, because it puts itself in the position of beneficiary.
Exactly. They control it. They control the legal title. So when you're doing the key word here is estoppel.
Yes, it is.
And people need to know what estoppel is, and you need to know how you grant an estoppel and how you get them to grant an estoppel. And it begins in the premises. It begins in the first encounter. You must let them know who you are, where you are, and basically they're going to have a problem because they know that they can't go there. Any person you talk to out there today is presumed, just like I said, a person, I didn't say man, is presumed to be a person, is presumed to be territorial to the United States. And so are you. You're both speaking to the mask. So that was pretty much the foundation that I wanted to lay down tonight. And it's not that I wanted to make that abundantly clear. And in those classes, the foundation will be laid, and we will look at the processes that people are putting out there, and then you'll begin to see, oh my goodness, and you'll begin to see that many of them knew that their processes were flawed in the beginning, but they were merely trying to make money. If nothing else, you have to make a decision. You cannot serve two masters. A decision has to be made. So someone's telling you, oh, you can be free. I heard, and I hope that I'm stating it properly, someone was saying that Boris was saying, well, that's what the government's there for. God put them there to handle all of your expenses, and you should, let them do these things. But, and see, just that right there to me is flawed in the premises. He didn't make government sovereign. He didn't make government steward. He made you steward. He made you responsible. He gave you the power. So why would you give that away and be, because somebody is going to pay all your bills for you? Come on.
We were granted dominion.
Exactly. So
I'd like to bring this up, everybody who was on the red pill. 12603, Tommy Dwayne. Orientation. Take control of the contract. All times. Reserve all God-given, unalienable rights. 12603.
Exactly.
12613.
And that's what you have. That's what you have to do. So getting back to the gentleman who was saying you're talking about going into court, you never go into court, blah 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 blah, and the bottom line is, and he's saying, well, you do these things, and he's made his determination. That's fine, but my point is here. Once you understand the distinction between the two, what I'm here to tell you, if you're always in God's realm and his jurisdiction, they can never defeat you. And if you know that, if you notice you're always in a republic and you control that contract with your signature, because it's a counter offer. Okay? If you control that and you know your conduct, you know when anybody approaches you, welcome to the republic. Since you asked that question from the republic, blah, 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 blah. You're never acknowledging that. So that's why I say they will try to get you to come in court, even though you're absolutely right. There's in terms of the car, there was no registration there, so you don't have a nexus there. There's no driver's license. There's nothing there. But he says, well, I'm going to take you in if you don't sign this. And so you know how to sign that and take care of that. And then, boom, the judge sees that, or they try to send some process to an address. And if they don't hear from you, if they've received no response, okay, then what the post office has just confirmed that you were there and you were told, you were told these things were going to take place, and since you didn't say anything, you've already acquiesced. But how about if they can't get you to court and they're trying to get you through mail, and you have something on board at the post office that says stop all mail for such and such? Or if you get a letter, you return it back, or if some letter is sent, you return it unclaimed, then they got a problem, because that's an admission that you're not there, that you don't agree, that there's no silent assent. See, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't take all of these lengthy court processes. Just control everything in the premises, in the beginning.
The law
and I've never. Go ahead.
Joe Page.
Right. You have to be responsible, and you have to know these things. And this is where you save yourself money when it comes to sales tax, automobile registration, all of those type of things, because you will be taught how to handle that or how that should be done. You know, they cannot compel you into their scheme. And that's what it's all about, voluntary. So, see, that's just like when somebody goes over to the system, it's just like Satan says to God, see, I told you, they volunteered. I gave them a pen. I gave them a sheet of paper. They signed their name. Here it is. They accept it. They recognize, acknowledge, and receive and accept me. So you can't come after me and punish me, God, because they agreed to it. They don't like your program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's occurring. So you got people out here pushing a lot of commercial stuff, and I'm just telling you, it's not the way. Mm-mm. You would benefit more by, coming out of her and learning how to conduct your affairs where you don't expose yourself to taxation and all of these fees and stuff for benefits that you never basically are going to realize or make use of. It's all about control. It's all about separating you from God. It's all about robbing you. But don't get up there and say that, oh, they're doing this. They didn't know. You did it to yourself.
Yep.
Via your conduct. And that's what I really wanted to make clear tonight. And so when you have that, just as Ben and Joyce, and I thought Wayne was going to comment a little bit more, but the fact of it is, if you know who you are, where you are, and you attach yourself to the proper law form, and you claim and reserve all your rights, and then that means if you've done that, then they cannot say that through your silence you have waived. You're putting that master document back on their asses that they must protect you, that they must uphold. And that's why they must eliminate the battle of the forums. That's a term, forum. F-O-R-U-M, forum. You hear some things that are called lex loci. See, in this course, you will be given those terms, and you'll be required to look them up in Black's Fourth, and you'll be required to look them up in the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, because you'll see that those words no longer appear in those dictionaries.
It doesn't. I already did that when you gave us that assignment at the Red Pill.
Exactly, and that's part. And so when you know the words, you know when you write your documents, you know the exact words that you're going to put in your document that attaches itself to your law form, where you have the upper hand in dealing with them. And even if you don't, just knowing how to sign the documents that they produced, and the way you put your signature on there, it nullifies. It shows you, okay, well, if I enter into, if this is the contract and you sign a certain way, what you're saying is I'm still not waiving my God-given unalienable rights. This is still my law form. This is still going to be where I receive remedy. And they won't contract with you because they're like, oh, shit, we just can't defeat you if there's ever a controversy because you didn't waive.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm pointing. I'd like to know if anyone, while you're here, if you have any questions, please ask them, because after the initial class, there will be modules after that, and you will not be able to attend those modules until you've gone through the first class, because that is necessary, and that sets the foundation for everything else to follow. So, and even if you come to class or you pay to attend those classes, you are going to, it is expected that you are going to participate. It's not going to be where I'm just going to come and listen and take and not give anything back, because I promise I'm very passionate about what I do, and I will make sure everything I can to make sure that you understand this and that you can stand on your own. And Joyce will tell you, like she said, her and Ben, they can stand on their own. They don't need me. I'm not out there like these other guys that want you to be dependent on them and want you to call them all the time. I don't want that. I just been given, I'm just a conduit, I'm just a vessel to relay some things to you, and whether you take it or leave it, it's up to you. But the way in which it is presented, it makes sense, and you start seeing, oh, I don't have to do all those complicated things. I don't have to do this. All I have to do is just control the damn agreement, control the point of contract, control everything in the premises, make sure there are no flaws, and everything is consistent with my law form, then we don't have a problem. And that's the objective. And I, like I said, I'm not condemning any of those guys that are out there and what they're doing. I'm just telling you, they aren't telling you historically what occurred, and by them not doing that, they themselves pretty much don't really even understand their processes, because it's going to be flawed. And the judge, when he sees you or they have contact with you, they just start drooling at the mouth and start rubbing their hands together because they know it's going to be a big payday for them.
Oh, yeah.
So does anyone have any questions?
Tommy, this is Ben.
This is who?
This is Ben.
Oh, okay, man. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that going through what Tommy has taught, he's made it a lot easier and a lot more simple to understand and evaluate. So basically, and you're able to write your own contracts, basically, documents and contracts. So definitely made it easier and understandable. So
and right, that takes great effort, and that's why I said I compared the United States to a play, and you have the right to determine whether you want to become an actor in that play or not. But what I'm telling you, all of these processes that they're using out there aren't necessary. You have the damn document. It says posterity. It means for those who are to follow. You make the claim, and guess what? When you make the claim and they go silent, guess what? They just accepted your position. Who in the hell is going to tell you you're not sovereign? Who in the hell is going to tell you that you're not one of the people of that you're not one of the people of the state of the state that is your state, or one of the states of the several unions? Because that means they traverse, and that means they will have to come in your court and prove why. But in doing so, they're showing that they're committing treason, because they cannot come territorial to the soil, period. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you go into their playground, you're filling out all these forms, trying to get hold of the estate. You're in their sandbox. You're like Adam and Eve.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes.
Do you or does your method, does it make the claim that you're a sovereign citizen?
It does not make the claim that you are a sovereign citizen. It makes a claim that you are sovereign, and it makes a claim that you are one of the people. But the bottom line is, you are, in a sense, you are a sovereign. In the Republic, you are a sovereign, and you are a citizen, because the power comes from the sovereign. He delegates the authority, and you agree to be bound by that and other people within that state or that political society. So therefore, you're also a citizen. But you cannot be a sovereign citizen as that term is defined today, because it's defined today that you are in the democracy. And you can't be a sovereign in the democracy because the sovereignty lies with Congress. So therefore, you cannot be sovereign and citizen. Whereas in the republic, you are sovereign, and you can be you can be a citizen of a particular political society, meaning one of the people of the state. That's the difference. So that's why they tell you in today's system, it's believed that everybody's in a democracy. Hell no, you can't be sovereign because you've agreed to be a subject.
The only reason why he's asking the question is because my father was labeled a sovereign citizen, and it didn't bode too well for him.
No,
but it was because he was in the wrong jurisdiction. I could tell you that right now.
And I have, just like with that term sovereign, I have the Supreme Court cases where they're telling you in 4 different instances when somebody says, oh, you're a sovereign citizen. Well, what do you mean by that term? In the Republic, yes, I am. But better yet, I'm going to let the Supreme Court tell you what I am. I have the 4 cases from the Supreme Court that says you are sovereign. If you're one of the people of the several states, you are a sovereign. If you look at the Treaty of Paris, the king basically told you that sovereignty devolved upon you. Georgia versus Chisholm tells you that you are sovereigns without subject. What do I need to say? But if you don't know that you're one of we the people and you're thinking you're a U.S. citizen, well, hell no, it doesn't apply to you. You are a citizen, subject, slave.
We have a U.S. citizen, though, do we not, that has rights secured by the Constitution and the 14th Amendment, Section 1, yes?
You say that one more time for me, please.
Sure. Under the 14th Amendment, Section 1, we have something that would be considered, it's an artificial person. It has those things. We're just an agent or the beneficiary for that artificial person that they created and gave to us, yes?
I don't agree with that. I don't ever describe myself as a 14th Amendment citizen, period.
Yeah, I didn't describe myself as a 14th Amendment citizen.
What I'm saying, anything that's under the 14th Amendment, you basically are of a diminished capacity. Point blank.
More so diminished than the person that's defining the Trading with the Enemies Act and further enacted by the Banking Relief Act.
As you find out, there are many statuses. Okay, and I'm just telling you the 14th Amendment. That when you say 14th Amendment citizen, I wouldn't know if that's worse than being what you just stated. I just don't go there. Because I know when it said, a 14th Amendment citizen, anything underneath that basically is saying you're a U.S. citizen. And it's saying that you don't have God-given unalienable private rights. And therefore, since you don't have those, they could never be injured. You only have the rights which we say you have, which is civil rights, which they could change at any moment. And they could even change that and not even publish it and let you know it.
Well, they don't have to give notice to the trustee. That's so true with a quasi-trustee, correct?
Well, that may be the case. And I'm not ignorant to those things. I just choose not to study them because, as far as I'm concerned, they're irrelevant. As long as I can write my own agreement and I can control the document, that stuff is irrelevant. If I know that I can always attach myself to the higher law form and I got the backing of God behind me, okay, then I'm in harmony with the laws of nature and nature's God. Okay, that's the true original jurisdiction right there. I don't need to go in the library and learn all their court cases, all the statutory court cases and how they're going to do this and the Title 42 and all that shit. You do it with, now, I must admit, if I were to go into court, I would have spent some time on how I would do that document. But if they violated me, what happens if there are 2 people who are from different states, okay? And I say states with a capital S, T-A-T-E-S, meaning as it is in the Constitution, one of the several states. Okay, what happens if they have a controversy? What would the setting? How would you go about getting that resolved? You would go into a federal court, and that would be heard under diversity. Well, if the other system comes onto the soil, territory of the United States of America, you have 2 options. You either go to risk management for that corporation or you could bring them up, sue them under diversity, because they are in the territory, one of the corporations, political subdivisions of the United States, and you are in the Republic. And what do you think? How do you think that's going to happen when you tell them that they injured your private rights? And there is a record, showing that. Do you think that they ever want to let that get out? So this is why risk management will settle with you, because they don't want the rest of the public to know that.
Well, you're talking about a United States District Court or a District Court of the United States?
Well, you could say it's the District Court of the United States, but they'll try to say, as long as it doesn't say in the District Court of the United States, because when you set that and you're the plaintiff, it's always the plaintiff who sets it, and then you ask for a court of record. See, that's the difference. A court of record doesn't mean that somebody's in there taking a record. You talk about a court of record as it's defined in the Constitution.
Article 3, Section 2, Subdivision 1.
Exactly. See, everything is there. It's there for you. It's just that you've been letting somebody, when you came into the world, they were dealing with a hard drive that had never been programmed. And if one of you know anything about computers, the first thing you want to do if your computer starts to go haywire, you format the drive, erasing basically everything. Or when you go out and buy a new hard drive, there's nothing on it, and you put the operating system on there, and the operating system tells the computer how to function. Well, it's no different when you're speaking metaphorically. You come into this world with a blank hard drive. And that's where all the programming starts, and it's even in your DNA, because your parents have been miseducated and don't know what's going on.
Well, that's why the Jesuits say, give us the child until he's 8, and that's it. It's done.
Exactly. So that is the purpose. Yes.
Can I ask a question? It's on the topic. Actually, you're talking about the topic that is heavy on my heart.
So who am I speaking with?
Oh, this is Sherry.
Okay, Sherry, go ahead.
Yes. You're explaining it quite well, and I'm understanding it, but to get it out of my head and into my mouth, to correct a mistake, say a waiving of the inalienable rights, is that possible to correct with an overstanding of the unalienable rights being reenacted due to being under a duress situation originally from a case?
Well, I think I know what you're saying, and I want to say this.
Yeah.
This is in any situation, this is your defense. This is why you have to know that. Most of the contracts out there, without me going into the course content, most of the cases out there, most of the situations or the transactions out there, they took place under fraud, misrepresentation, all kinds of things. And whenever there's fraud in a contract, it vitiates the contract, meaning that it never existed. So if you're able to prove, not even prove, or you do what is called affirmative defenses, and you stake with those affirmative defenses, or what you're saying is this took place because this happened. And then if that took place because of misrepresentation, then that means you never waived and you never left the Republic.
Okay, that is what I was standing on, even though I know that they know that I know, and that's why it happened the way that it did. I'm still not under their reign, so to say, but under their reign paperwork-wise, electronically. So that needs to all be corrected and brought forth so that there's never a discrepancy on standing.
See, the thing of it is, this is why I call it the blueprint. They took it with pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. And God willing, through this course, you'll learn how to take it back with pieces of paper.
That's what I need. I require that.
And that's what Ben and Joyce can tell you. When they sit down and they thought about it, that's exactly how it worked. They got you to voluntarily give it up, and you can voluntarily give it back.
Oh, yeah. Guns around.
Take it back.
Yeah, I can always live enough day and fight and get this accomplished so that they can never do this again. Yes.
Right. And so this is why when you want to question something, there's a procedure. If they know that their whole system is based upon misrepresentation and fraud, and if you ever get wind of that, oh, they got a problem.
Well, they know that I know that. It's just I couldn't stop them. So now, even though it was in my heart, my common sense was getting me through those moments, I don't hear very many people explaining or standing on knowing that inalienable rights, yes, they can be taken away at any time, but unalienable rights, and you stand on God from the beginning, that stands throughout the whole experience. And hopefully that we're going to come to proving this in our proving grounds and take that.
See, they can't. It's like I said, they can't do anything to your unalienable rights. What they do is they use your God-given right to unlimited contract. That's what they use against you. You see, they get you to adopt and accept other terms and to waive your protections. That's how it's being done, a lot of it. But it's being done so subtly till you don't even see it. So these people that are coming out, well, I'm not saying you per se. I'm just saying, in general, people don't see it. And so when they come out here with these processes, it is never covered by the instructor, and then you do the process, and then you find out they're attacking you or they're coming at you, and you just don't have an idea why that's happening. All you have to do is you have to assert who you are. You have to claim your God-given rights, that you have never waived them, that you have never left the Republic, and if they have a contract, they would have to be prepared to overcome your affirmative defenses, and just to name a few of them, which is misrepresentation, failure to reveal the true nature of the forum, fraud, and all the other various. Those are your affirmative defenses. And what that does, if they think they have a contract, it has now been basically vitiated. And the fact of the matter is, they know that they can't overcome the affirmative defenses. So they either go silent or they go away. But like I said, that's why they have risk management there, and that's why you can sue under diversity and show where your private rights have been injured. And for someone to injure your private rights, to not have a warrant issued from a competent jurisdiction, and they seize you and they hold you, okay, because your law form says that they cannot do that, they got a problem. They're not called sheriffs. They're not called peace officers. They're called police. They're policy enforcement officers, and they can only operate under Title 50 territorial to the United States. If you never go there, if you never acknowledge them, they've got a problem because they don't exist. It's on the soil. You're on the soil. You're in the Republic, and that's all that you can see.
Okay, you're bringing up more topics as far as when this was going on, standing alone and not having the support system where others even know that you exist on the planet. But now that this is happening more and more across the board with others who are aware and going to be bringing these matters forth for correction, besides doing it individually, now, like, for instance, putting a case into a court, but then it's removed due to it being fictitious. So how is it that this is going to take place in the world that we live in, the Republic, so that there is an eye other than our own on it, so that they know that we're not standing alone, while we're, taking back our power.
Well, let me say this. When you are asserting, see, the matrix and stuff is ran by computers. And they have certain laws that their information must be accurate and correct. And once you get your basic foundation and understand that very well, then you are able to prepare your documents, and those documents and stuff are going to be recognized by them, and then you will know where to place those documents in their system, within their matrix. So if they were to look you up on Nix, they see, oh my goodness, we can't go there.
So you're talking about the file and putting it on the do not detain list?
Do what now?
You're speaking about
No, Nix is that's that little criminal system that they use to run everybody through. That tells them what's on the plantation. But once you come to the understanding, you have everything in place. You pretty much have a way to correct those records and go into the system, and they can't refuse it.
Okay, I got one more question, and this is where I'm heading. If my property, I know people use the word property, but I'm going to bring in animal or objects, children, animals, etc. How does one bring that under protection or under the guise of our true standing so that our joyous moments on life of interaction with all the species that we're living with are under our fold, so to say? If they don't have the capacity to speak English or do a contract, they're innocent.
Well, if they're children, that's a different story because they're considered to be your property. I mean, you own those. But how you get around that, if you have land and you've taken care of that land properly and they have been given notice and they know that from the way that those documents are creating, they won't come there. If you got a mailbox there, then yes, they could come there. If you went there and if you went and got a building permit and all that stuff, they could come there. If you have gone through escrow and all of that and you have a warranty deed on there, they can come there. All these things can be done right, and you can have electricity can come there, but you have it set up where you haven't waived anything. You see, it's only money of account that you're gonna, if you're using that, that's all they have. But you haven't waived when it comes to a controversy. You haven't waived your election of remedy. You haven't waived any of your rights in relation to your law form. See,
okay, so
that's
we
what
can
it
go
all
back
starts
to
with.
the beginning of our life, and we can correct it and move forward so that all will be protected of our interaction with this world from our soul. Right?
Yeah, one of the ways it's just don't. They give you a Social Security number and all that. Not you. They sign the fictional person's Social Security number, which they get you to animate. There's no law saying that you have to use that Social Security number in any transaction that you do. There's nothing saying, there's nothing saying you have to do that, and there's nothing saying that your transaction or your contract or your agreement with the other person has to take territorial to the United States. Now, if you go into their stationery store and get their documents, of course, everything in that document is going to be in relation to United States, which means they have subject matter jurisdiction, and they will probably have personam jurisdiction, and they will have the proper venue. And I guarantee you they'll be able to make out a claim of which relief can be granted.
But when one wakes up, from that point forward, we have our inalienable rights voided and our unalienable rights stand, or do we correct and we can go back into time? I mean, from the
I would. But if it's not affecting you currently, who cares about those contracts out there? You now know that if they try to come after you after old contracts, you know who you are now. You still, if they came after you, you still would have to enter into another transaction in the court process for that controversy to be resolved. And if you don't go there and you know who you are at that time, do you understand what I'm saying? Basically, if you have a contract and they say, we got this contract, blah, 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 they got to get you to come to court, surrender to their jurisdiction, which you're not going to do because this is my identity, this is who I am. And let's say if they drag you in there and you look at that, let's say if you didn't know, and you look at that document and they say, is that your signature? And you have to know what a signature is. And you have to raise your affirmative defenses. And you have to say where you are when this occurred and who you are. That kills them. Because most people think they know what a signature is, and let me tell you, many of them don't have a clue.
Okay. It's a good
Joyce,
test.
Ben and Joyce, are you there? Wayne, are you there? Do the majority of the people out there know what a signature is?
Nope.
Intent.
It is making a document your own. It is completely with all knowledge and forethought agreeing to the contents. And did you do that when you signed anything with the government?
No.
No, you did not
but
sign.
I did with the signature, yes.
No. I want you to listen to what Joyce is saying. I want you to listen to very closely. Say that again, Joyce, please.
Say it again. Oh, I hate that. The signature is to make a document your own. It has to be done with full knowledge and agreement. And did you do that with government? And you said no. And of course, you have no signature. So if they say, is this your signature, the answer is always no, because you may have written your name, but that is not a signature.
Oh, thank you. You've saved my patooties.
See, because in order for that to be a signature, they must give you full disclosure. They never told you that you were going into another forum, okay? They didn't tell you, when I say going into another forum, meaning another jurisdiction, that you were abandoning the Republic. They never told you that they were bankrupt and they don't have the capacity to contract. So had you known those things, it would have never been your intent to enter territorially. So therefore, if it was never your intent and they didn't give you full disclosure, then that is not a bona fide agreement, and therefore you're not bound and you can't be held to in an equity setting and compelled to specific performance.
Thank you. You've just given me the blessings of my common sense back to me with the verbiage that is shared. So that, thank you. Gift.
I want to comment on that. You said the exact thing that I would have to say Tommy made possible for me in one of the most important of all the benefits of his instruction was that he gave me the language to express myself, which I did not have before. And it gave me the language to understand, which I did not have before. It's all about the language. And
yes. I could not explain in words intent, which is invisible, but that's all I could feel going through this experience. But I did not have the language because I kept looking at all the language available, and it was not for the living man. And now I'm aware of the Republic, but I just knew that everything that was being put into play was incorrect and completely, it just didn't promote life. So the language is what I required, and I didn't have it.
And that's why you're being given. That's why you'll be given vocabulary words. I mean, you'll be given the terms. And see, just like there, what we just explained to you, how many of the gurus out there have ever taught you what a signature is?
None.
No one talks about it. They just say this is how you sign.
Exactly. And you know what? That is something that simple is extremely, extremely powerful. But these people never ever tell you what a signature is. They make you. I was watching an episode of Judge. I can't think his name. He's a black judge with the glasses. What's his name? Judge. Anybody out there? Television show? Mathis. And this woman, he says, this is not my contract. That's not my signature. Blah blah blah. And what Judge Mathis says, well, let me see your driver's license and let me see that document. Now Judge Mathis is pulling a fast one over on him, and he's making the people in the peanut gallery think that the writing on the document, if it appears to be the same, that is your signature. It is not. So if you got people out here teaching you these things and they're not teaching you the basic concepts, those little small things that we just talk about, and in those small things, in there lies all the power, not the processes that they're talking about. Because you can negate a lot of that crap by knowing what's going on, who you are, where you are, and what the hell it is that you're dealing with.
Well,
but
I have
if you don't know,
where do we go from this point?
Well, that's the whole point of this class, is to let you know that school would be a school. It's not some 3 days. Most people want to say, you come here, you pay your money, 3 days is over. I will give, in this course would be at least 7 days long, okay, and it will be a webinar, and you all were required to have study groups, okay. This is school. Because once you start bouncing things off each other and you start doing a reading assignment, once it becomes, I'm going to say this to you, and I'm sure Ben and Joyce and Wayne will agree, once you see this thing for what it is and you see the other side coming at you, you're going to be having so much fun until you don't know if you want to trip them or club them or do both. Yeah. Am I correct, Ben? Am I correct, Ben and Joyce?
Yeah. And it's easy.
Okay.
Can I ask
it becomes
a question?
Yes, you may.
What's that?
Walter speaking here. First question for Tommy.
Yes.
How are you making part of the Constitution? Contract?
How am I doing what?
How do you make yourself part of that contract?
How do you make yourself part of that contract? By claiming it. You have to claim it, and if you're one of the citizens of the several states, you are basically now you have now qualified yourself to make a claim on the Constitution of the United States, which they are bound to uphold.
How would you have like Walter, who is from another country?
Yeah, I'm from another country, basically. That's what I'm raising the point up.
How would that apply to him?
Okay, well, if you're from another country, I'm going to state this very clearly. See, when the United States is a corporation, but there is the state of one of the several states of the Union. And that state is still there. I did not say state of Georgia. I said the state of Georgia.
That's funny because one here. That's funny because 2 days ago I was just looking at the seals of the state, and I just saw what exactly you are talking about. Of the state of.
Now, guess what? The people are the state, and if the people make the claim and say that they know that you to be your allegiance is, of course, first to God, and that you have always been one of we the people of the state, and this is how they know you, blah, 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 blah. And in doing so, if you know how to create an official record, and you make that claim, and it's an official record, and what does what does it say about you must give full faith and credit to official acts of state? Well, if the state of says that you are one of the people of the state, and now you are a beneficiary of the Constitution of the United States of America, what can the U.S. Constitution say? Those who are under the United States say?
Nothing.
I want him to say it, or anybody out there. What can United States say?
Nothing.
Somebody want to answer that?
Nothing.
They cannot say a damn thing because it didn't come from the state of. You're not a U.S. citizen. It came from the state of. Came from a different jurisdiction. It came from a jurisdiction that is superior to their own. They cannot make the claim that you're not. So you don't go through immigration, and you don't do it to be a U.S. citizen. And when you're coming across the border, they ask you, are you coming into the United States? No, I'm going to the state of Texas. Or I'm going through the state of. That's where you're going, not in their corporation. Do you understand what I'm saying about jurisdictional claim? Anybody out there?
Okay, the second question for you. When you claim the Constitution, are you going back to a certain year for the Constitution?
Yeah.
Or,
we say 1789, 1791. But if somebody asks you about the 14th Amendment, hell no.
Right, because the 14th Amendment was placed into the Constitution in a certain time.
Exactly. And that's why we only go up to the fourth, because the fourth pretty much, Black's fourth dictionary primarily pretty much only deals with the Republic. Anything after that pretty much after the fifth is all commercial. It is all commerce. It is all domestic. You see, and they don't tell you this. They don't tell you that, these dictionaries represents different jurisdictions. None of these gurus tell you that. They just tell you, here's a cookie cutter thing. This is how you do it. And then when you go, even if you're pulled into court and you put the documents before the judge, the first thing he does is, I don't want to read all this shit. Basically is what he's saying. Let me hear out of your mouth what it is that you're trying to say, because he's trying to see if you can competently express your political will. And when he sees that what's on the paper is something totally different from coming out of your mouth, you are an incompetent. And you cannot articulate your political will, then we will articulate it for you. U.S. citizen, take your ass to jail. You're in the game of Monopoly. So that was the purpose of this call, is to get you to see the very basic things that you need to know, which is where the power is. These people aren't teaching you these things. They aren't breaking it down for you to see how you would handle a traffic stop or how the system operates. If it can't get you at the curbside, it tries to get you to sign something saying that you're going to appear. But if you take care of that initially, and then if you put in there you're going to specially appear, then you ask yourself, well, how do I specially appear? Well, what is an appearance? An appearance doesn't mean you have to physically be there. But when they say that, because you don't know that, you go there and you physically appear. Have you ever thought about maybe I could appear via my documents or via my claim? Or that I could possibly do a counterclaim and they can't go forward until they answer my counterclaim? And how about that counterclaim says, of the 17 federal enumerated powers, I deny that there is a law that can compel me to contract territorial to the United States. Can they overcome that claim? No, the hell they can't. So if they can't overcome that claim, guess what? No personam jurisdiction, no subject matter jurisdiction, failure to state a claim upon which release can be granted, and improper venue. Did you just hear that?
Gold nugget.
So basically, when you put your documents in, this is basically everything what they can see.
But exactly. But you have to. But before you put your documents in, it's not just you put in the document. You have to learn how to articulate it, viva voce, say what you put in the documents. And you can't begin to possibly create the documents if you don't understand the planes of jurisdiction.
I got a question. How do you use your counterclaim as a subordinate or a prior claim to their claim? What I'm asking is, they have a claim or whatever, and then you file a counterclaim. Their claim was first in time. How can a counterclaim be superior to a first in?
Because the counterclaim, when they made
actually, hold on a second. Actually, I want to say something here. Actually, whatever they put in, it's not a claim, and that that is not a claim. It's basically a summons. That's not a claim. A summons to appear into court. That's not a claim.
They can't make claims.
They cannot make claim, and they don't have claim, period.
Okay, I want to say something. Basically, what you're saying is that we are, you're speaking about the will. You're talking about expressing one's political will. You're talking about the will overstands all of their claims, all of their summons, all of their jurisdiction, all of their, well, the other words that you had that are leaving my mind right now. Is that what you're saying? We have not initiated, activated, put into the record our will. We're talking about putting forth our will.
Exactly. That's part of it. When you say your will is, when you tell them your will is, you're telling them your law form. You're telling them where you are. You're claiming your rights. You know where you are. You're expressing your political will, which political society you want to be a part of, and where you are, and what your remedies are under that society. And once you tell them that it is never your intention to enter into a contract territorial to the United States, and if they think they have a nexus means a connection, then if you think you have a contract, bring it forth. But be prepared to overcome my affirmative defenses of misrepresentation, fraud in the inducement, failure to disclose the true nature of the form, and there's a whole shit list of them. That's why you should look up what affirmative defense means. They cannot overcome your affirmative defenses. Why? Because it was all done under misrepresentation and fraud. And had you known that, there's no damn way in hell that you intend to go into a situation that is going to be injurious to you.
Okay, so this is where the proof comes in. They cannot bring forth the proof because they cannot stand over your will, which is your inalienable rights.
No.
Your
the point. The fact of it is, what you're saying, your will is already going to be expressed for that. But they can't bring in a contract because the contract which they thought they had you sign was done on the basis of misrepresentation and fraud. They cannot overcome that because they know that that's how they got you into the contract is through fraud. And wherever there's fraud, force, or coercion, that vitiates the contract, and vitiate means it never existed. And if that's the case, then you never waived. You are still the sovereign, and they have to protect you.
Well, they protect us, the sovereign, and our property, our life, the joy of our life, right, which is all of the things or the objects or animals, children in our life, our land. That's all of that, right?
Right, but the thing is, if you have a dog, one other clue, look up bill of sale. Look up bona fide, look at the term bona fide, and look up bill of sale. And that's your answer right there. You have a dog, they pour the dog in, and you can't produce a bill of sale because the bill of sale is going to show when and where that transaction took place and the money used. And when they look at that contract, it did not take place territorial to the United States. That is your property. It was paid for with gold and silver. It was done United States of America. The United States of America, they don't have a damn claim. The only way that they have a claim is when you fail to show that you have true ownership, because it's going to presume that they do, and they're going to presume that you use Federal Reserve notes, so therefore they have an interest in the dog, and they could fine you because you didn't keep your dog on a leash or your dog got out.
Okay, I got a question. What if everything was seized and who knows where all the belongings are? There is no physical bill of sale, but there is a witness who actually was the seller. You know, I mean, it still gets into tricky territory.
Well, but the thing is, if she was the seller and you have her to say up there, the bottom line is she didn't receive gold coin. She's going to say that the transaction took place in the corporation or one of the political administrative subdivisions of the United States, a federal corporation at 3002 subpart 15. That's why she's going to say the transaction took place, not on the state of.
Yeah, and what if there is no, you can't find the person anymore? So
Well, but I was answering your question. You said if you had a witness, and I was telling you where your witness is in terms of time, place, space, and plane, in jurisdictional plane. She was territorial to the United States, so therefore they have a claim in that animal or in that property. Because it's presumed that you use Federal Reserve notes to obtain it, and therefore you avail yourself to the benefit of dischargement rather than extinguishment. And when you make it avail yourself to the benefit of dischargement, you have just basically taken a benefit and you haven't extinguished the debt, so therefore you don't have complete and true ownership. Did that make sense, what I just said to you?
Yeah, but you didn't answer her question. So can I answer her question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there is a way for you to sell that animal to, for you to get a bill of sale for that animal, and it's perfectly legitimate. It removes it out of the system, and I'm assuming that's something Tommy would be teaching. He taught me. I removed everything I owned out of the system.
The titles.
Yes.
So how many gold coins is the class? You like that one? Okay. If you're going to start, you got to start in equity to end in equity. Period. Equity delights in equality.
Well, I'm just saying. When you say equity, here's what I'm saying. And to some degree, when you're dealing with that system, you're absolutely right. When you're dealing with the contract, to some degree, you are dealing with equity. But under which law form? You see, and their whole system is designed. It is equity. Their whole system is designed. It's all based upon contract. And what they want to do is basically say, hey, we have a controversy, and we have to do what is equitable. Okay, so we have to resolve the contract. And in equity, the bottom line, they're trying to find out who breached, and the person that breached, they're going to compel them to specific performance. That's what that's all about. That's why they have to draw you into their court. They get you to submit. Okay, even if there wasn't a contract, but if you come in and you submit to their jurisdiction and they make a claim, the judge is 9 times out of 10, he's been put there by the state, by the legislature, which is that case is the king, and he's going to do what's best for the king, and that is to collect money from you. That's the bottom line. But what we're saying in this case, I just said something very key. They took it with pieces of paper. You can take it back with pieces of paper, just as Joyce was telling you. But before any and all of that takes place, you must first have that foundation. You must know the terms, because those are the terms that you're going to use to articulate your will. Those are the terms that you're going to use to set up time, place, space, and plane in the proper jurisdiction. Okay, and you're going to know the things, and because if you know how they're trapping you, and you know how to put those poison pills in your documents, or how to use those poison pills when you interact, or they interact with you in the Republic, always in the Republic, always in the Republic, always in the Republic. Okay? Anything they ask you, thank you for asking that in the Republic. Oh, hi, welcome to the Republic. Blah, 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 blah. And if you know how to maintain that, and then when it comes to purchase, I shouldn't say buy or purchase it, when it comes to owning title to something, then you know how to create the documents. That's why you would say it's called a bona fide bill of sale. When you look up the term bona fide, you'll see what that means. It means there's no fraud. Mm-hmm. And if it's bona fide, then if it's a bona fide contract, that person entered into it, they could never defeat that contract by saying that it was misrepresented, because it said bona fide, and when you affix your signature there, and you had witnesses, and you're saying that it was your intent, and it is bona fide, no fraud, you're locked. And you can't not go back and gainsay. But the system and the way it does everything, it's fraud. They don't use coin money, therefore, and they are insolvent, and they do not intend to uphold their obligations. Therefore, they don't have the capacity to contract unless you, who's the sovereign, who's been appointed with special powers from God and who has the ability to create. If you say so, they're real and they exist. They exist. That's why they never had a convention, a constitutional convention. They never had that. Which when you have a constitutional convention or you have a convention, that does make a declaration to the world that you exist. Which is what the United States of America did with England. Do you see how everything is consistent? And if the United States of America never made that declaration, which shows their intent and their will, they would continue being a colony of the crown.
So one there said something about giving notice. Does one give notice to the commander-in-chief and others like him?
Well, when you say one, you mean you might want to be a little bit more. You want to be.
I'll use you.
I know people. I knew
Brother
Tommy. What now?
Brother Tommy, does one there, Brother Tommy, does he give notice to the commander-in-chief and the Secretary of Treasury?
When you can do, when you say I like to be a little bit more specific, and that's what I teach, being specific in particular. So when you say one, you're saying one, but you're not specifically identifying.
Well, if you look at the preamble in the Declaration of Independence, it also says a one people. So I think it's fitting. One people.
When you say if you say one people, then I know that's what you mean, one people. But when you say one could be anything. So if you want to say, would one of the people do this? Yes, and that's how I use it in my documents. I say one of the people. I just don't say one because one is not specific and particular enough for me. So if you want to say one of the people, yes,
sure. As one of the people, Tommy, does he give notice as one of the people? Does he give notice to the Commander-in-Chief and the Secretary of Treasury?
Well, I don't think about giving any notice to the Secretary of Treasury. I would give notice to the Secretary of State, not to the Secretary of Treasury. Because the Secretary of Treasury, that has nothing to do with the Secretary of State is the one that's responsible for all the records. Okay? And that and that's why you'll be going there for certain things. Because once she says it and she sees it and things have been authenticated like they're supposed to, everybody has to give it full faith and credit. So, but the object is to get that, and also how to enter to the matrix in the computer system. So when, if you happen to be pulled over, or even if you have a license plate on the back of your car, if you take care of that in the premises like it's supposed to be taken care of, when that cop runs that place, he'll see it says, "Do not stop." Because what you've done is you basically have put the system on notice as to who you are, time, place, space, and plane, and you invoke all your rights, powers, privileges, remedies, and immunities of defenses as beneficiary, and they must protect you because a cop on the side of the street does not understand contracting, and they put him down there because he's the least intelligent of them all. And they don't want him to be intelligent enough where he can question what's going on because they are trying to collect. So if you take care of the system like it's supposed to in the premises with the license plate, and even with the premises of a driver's license, because they have to protect you, and without that, their cops will immediately move to kill you or try to intimidate you or take you to unnecessary, will basically harm your private rights. And when you put the system on point as to your political will and what your take is, they have to protect you because if they don't, they open themselves up for a hell of a suit. Exactly. A hell of a suit, and they've committed treason. So the best point is when you've taken care of that, and they know in advance, they know that their cops, they know, hey, if they stop you and hold you and something happens and they notice they were supposed to check the computer and it's in their system, they tell you not to stop them. They operated beyond their scope of authority. So not only can you come out of the after that particular agency, but you can go after the so-called cop for everything that he owns.
That is true. So you said something about commingling
earlier, and I've heard you use this word fraud a couple of times. I'm wondering, does that show up on your paperwork, fraud, the word fraud? Because I've come to understand that's a martial term. It's a statutory term.
Well, I don't. If you look up, well, to answer your question, look up fraud in Blacks 6, 7, and 8, or if they have 9 now, and look up fraud in 4, 3, and 1828, because 1828 dictionary, that is a law dictionary. And since we operate from Black's 4th, which primarily deals with the Republic, that is our meaning. Because when you state who you are, time, place, space, and plane, and if you would say if there was a controversy, you went to the Supreme Court, they would take a look at your documents, and they would define the meaning of that word based upon the way in which you brought it to them, based upon the political connection that you made, or the plane of jurisdiction that you've attached yourself to. So
well,
that's
cool.
what I'm
Thank
saying.
you. So are you using any Bouvier's or Story or Gibson?
I primarily stick with Black's 4th.
Very well.
Bouvier's, they may do it, but if that particular Bouvier's covers if it covers the same time period, let's say that Blacks does, then it's okay to use that. I think it's okay to use that, but I primarily stick with Blacks because that Blacks pretty much, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and it pretty much tells you, pretty much what's going on. I'm not saying that Bouvier doesn't, but right. Blacks, to me, I would think be the most reliable. So I'm hoping that we covered a lot of questions, and you all can be, and I hope that I've been able to explain to you that you must start from the ground up. You must know these little subtle things that, although they may be subtle, they're absolutely deadly. And the objective here is that they took it with pieces of paper. We can take it back by learning how to control, by creating our own documents, or how to control documents that have been presented by them. And once you understand that, then you can go in and control any situation that deals with property, that deals with you, deals with in terms of you and how to deal with that system. And once you have that whole foundation, then you're able to articulate these things, Brother Voice say. You are able to submit documents in certain places, correcting their record, and going in the system. So even if there's a tag on the back of your car, you don't look like you stand out any different than anybody else. But that cop knows when he runs that place and it says, do not touch, he's not going there. I don't give a shit if you have a ton of marijuana in your car. You don't have a contract with them, and they can't come there because you're not on their system. There is no nexus there, too. And therefore, if you look up Hoover and Ellison versus EVAT, it talks about the 3 United States. It talks about those states that are stand next to each other in a family of states. It talks about those states under the Constitution, and it talks about those states, the territory over which the jurisdiction of the United States extends. Those, they're telling you, that's really talking about 3 different planes. But the 2 that you're concerned with is the one that's under the Constitution and the one where the jurisdiction of the United States extends. Those are 2 you have to be concerned with, and you have to know how to remain in the one under the Constitution, and not the one over the territory in which the jurisdiction of the United States extends. That's the 2 jurisdictions. Those are the things that you have to be aware of. Which world do you want to be in? Even if you look at Scripture, it tells you have to make a decision. You look at Moses. Moses didn't stay there. He didn't stay there and say, well, I'm going to try to operate, from the private side here in Egypt under Pharaoh's rule. He got the hell out. He parted the Red Sea, which was the sea of confusion. That sea was basically what was holding everything back. Parted it and walked through it, went to the other side. But then again, there were those who were like us. Once they got to the other side, they really didn't understand it because they had other people doing things for them. And in no time at all, they started wanting the king's meat again. They wanted to be back because they weren't really prepared to do what was necessary to finalize the Exodus.
Well, I have one last question. I'm going to stop bothering one there, okay? And it kind of goes back to convening a court of equity or a court of chancery, court of equity, an exclusive jurisdiction as opposed to concurrent jurisdiction. And this is right out of Black's Fourth, by the way, okay? This is equitable asset, okay? Equitable assets are all assets which are chargeable with the payment of debts or legacies in equity. Okay, everybody on the call can read it for themselves, but it also goes on to state that you're going to need the help or the assistance or the aid of a chancellor in order to do this. That happens in a court.
Well, in that case, I must have to tell you, I adamantly disagree.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is, why you got that dictionary there, you look up that, and you on the internet look up nisi prius court and look up a court of record. And most of those court systems and things that are going on out there today are nisi prius.
All of those courts are martial courts, are they not?
Well, you want to call them, I'm not sure in terms of martial court. I describe them as nisi prius. That's what they are. And
okay.
And the way I describe them,
military and would you say that they're military in their construction?
I describe them, yeah, in a sense, yes. I describe them as nisi prius because when I say nisi prius and in a court of record, remember, I am always looking at things from a jurisdictional plane, from a standpoint. And I see their courts as being nisi prius, and I see those in the republics being court of records. That's really the only thing that I can see is the court of records. That's the only way I will proceed in a court of record setting. So if they have equity, they have all that out there, that's not what my Constitution and what I attach myself to, which is the superior law form. That's not what mine said. My law form says court of record. But there is a nisi prius. So by me knowing that there's a nisi prius, and I know that I am in a court of record, and I know what they're looking for, it gives me the upper hand because I know how the court is to be structured.
Well, I just gave you a little bit of the definition of equitable assets, and it says they are so called, these equitable assets, because they can only be reached by the aid and instrumentality of a court of equity. Okay,
but
that is also
But you think about what you're saying. You said equitable assets.
Yes.
What do they mean by equitable assets? Does that give a description as to how they may have been acquired? And if they are
yes, it does. It's either done through debt or legacy. I'm looking at legacy.
But the thing is, when you say legacy, like I'm getting back to again, legacy, what does that mean in terms of the jurisdiction? We know what legacy means in the republic, but what the hell does legacy mean in a democracy or commercial settings?
The democracy would not be cognizant of that. So I'm sorry, not able to see it.
Well, I'm not necessarily. But remember, there's nothing in the democracy that they can see from a republic nature or from original jurisdiction. There's nothing they can see, but they can take the same word legacy, okay, and under their law form and deem it to mean whatever the hell they want to. Just like a 501c3 church is not the same as a church under the republic, but yet they still use the name church.
That can only happen if the complainant doesn't set jurisdiction in the proper place.
And that's what we're all talking about. Exactly.
Precisely.
So if you understand those two words, if you look back at the Matrix, and if you have watched that, you had the Matrix as it appeared when the person was hooked up with the thing in the back of its mind, but when they were in the real world, they showed you that the sky had been blotted out. You saw dilapidated buildings, and you saw all of that. So they're showing you that there's two worlds. There's two different planes of jurisdiction. And if you're going to be successful of anything, you have to understand the basics. You have to have the proper historical perspective on things, and you have to see that. And once you see that, and you just learn these terminologies, and you know where you're at all times, and you know how to do these contracts and put things and do bills and sales, you can begin to take your property back and be an exodus out of that system, an exodus with wealth, because there is no wealth in that system because it's based upon, like I said, Federal Reserve notes, and it's based upon the illusion of ownership. When you come out of her and you own your land, you have title to it. It is physical. You plant seeds, and it could yield you just an enormous amount of things. You own the land, you have wealth, you have lumber, you can produce food from your land, you can support life, you have rivers, you have mineral deposits. That is true wealth, not having Federal Reserve notes in a bank. And if the so-called Federal Reserve note was no longer the standard currency of the world, it collapses. What the hell are you going to do with that? And then the land that you think you own, because you didn't pay the so-called taxes, they come and claim it, or they see you got a nice piece of property, and they do eminent domain on your asses. They can't do that if you have bills of sale and you have land patents and you have things like that in place. They can't go there. They can't go outside that fictional world. And these are the things that you're not being shown by these gurus, which is why some people, they get arrested or they can't defend themselves, and then they end up saying, well, he taught me that. Well, he did this for me.
Yeah, you can't rely on somebody else's knowledge.
So it's not going to happen.
What Tommy's saying, whoever's going to be doing this stuff better know their knowledge, okay, and not relying on someone else.
Exactly, and that's why I put the cases there. That's why I show you examples of some of the work that's been put out there by people, and I put it out there in hope that you can detect it after you've been given the foundation. And when you see it, you're going to like, oh, man, I see what I was doing. You're going to see that train coming down the tracks, and you're going to see how you're going to say, how the hell did they not see it? I'm telling you, folks, it is so simple sometimes, but you have been programmed to think that it is so complex with what you've seen on TV. Sometimes it is so subtle till it will blow you away. You're saying these people who put this thing in place are diabolically wicked.
Oh, yeah, they're geniuses.
By the way, Tommy, one here is Smarty Pants from the RP.
Yeah, I know you're working. I know you're working. Yeah.
So 1 year's it has grown some, and not be so combative like the last man that you were talking to in the beginning of the call. It's not worth it.
But see, he came in right off the bat with a closed mind. Okay, and if it wasn't going to be perceived or seen his way, he didn't want to have anything to do it. And he said, well, why are you talking about going to court? I addressed going to court because it was brought up. The question was asked on what was you doing in a court situation, and did not allow me the opportunity to explain. And if he was here to teach then, I just strongly suggest you hold your own call. Okay, don't come here trying to run this call. I have something that I want to say that I know is of great importance, and I've had communications, and I had contact with you all, and I just wanted you all to know. But as I said, in Arizona, it's like they are now, the way that they are pulling people in is by promising them vast riches. And even if you are to get $40,000 or $100,000 in Federal Reserve notes, let's say $1 million, it's still an illusion. It's still not wealth. But if you use that and you start acquiring things, if you're not controlling those with a bill of sale in the proper time, space, place, and plane, don't you understand you're just a user? They still control everything, and
Sure.
They're not telling you.
Sure, it's an implied contract, and we assent to it.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. So that's my thing, is to show you how not to be ensnared, how not to be deceived in a very simple way in which you can do these things and take control and have control and know how to contract. And that will save you I mean, even just with when we start dealing with sales tax, all the various models and all that stuff, when you have the proper foundation and you've been given the language in which to articulate what it is you're trying to do, then it's all downhill. I mean, when I say downhill, I mean it's your exodus or your coming out can be completed, and you still can do so and earn a living for yourself. Okay. Because as you know me, I never, from day one y'all had contact with me, I never said anything about, trying to control this amount of wealth or say that you can go here and you can do that. I never said that. I always said that you have to come out of her. And that's what I hope that more so than anything else, I hope I've made it very clear to you why, what I have to offer and how the school would benefit you. And you will not need me there to hold your hand, because once you get it, I'm telling you, when you see it, you're going to say, oh, my goodness. I mean, I just see it. And it doesn't stop there, because you go down the road 6 months later and you look back at it again, you'll get something even on a deeper level.
Receive. So I was kind of like, not kind of being serious about the gold coins. How many gold coins to take your class? Or is there going to be
I really haven't set an amount, because in this class it'll probably be under $1,000, under $1,000 or something like that. And because what I want to do is with this particular module, and what I'm going to give you is worth its weight in gold. That's why you said gold, I'm sure. But the point of it is, once you go through this particular course, you will be able to see the benefits of going further. You'll begin to see the benefits of the other modules that have come. You'll see that I'm not just trying to get you there and make money, blah, 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 because it's never, those of you who know me know that has never been my premise. I always showed you my material. I showed you where I got it from. I showed you the source materials, although I didn't get a chance to really quiz you on it to make sure you got it, or how it's to be applied. I never got that opportunity. So that's where I'm looking at. I want to make, there's so much material. I want to put it, I want to have everything concise, have everything on disk for you, or, just documents so that you can refer to them. And you learn those documents and show you how to, if you can express something, show you how to look in the case itself and take the language right from the doggone case. Okay? And when someone sees that, they're like, oh, man, this person knows what the hell is going on. They know what they're saying. They got their bill of sales. We can't go there. Everything is, if you understand, everything is always about subject matter jurisdiction, personam jurisdiction, because if a court doesn't have those two things, it can't go forth. If it doesn't have the proper venue, then there is no claim that can be made. They fail to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. So if there are no more questions, I have a question for you all. Have I made it clear tonight what my position is?
Yes.
Yep.
Pretty much.
So my job, my thing is that I truly want to empower you. And you just sit back, and there's nothing, to know that you have the proper perspective on things and you know what's going on, it's a great relief. It is the releasing of a great burden. It's to know that I am truly sovereign, and if I were to enter an agreement, if I want to deal with another sovereign, we would drop the contract and we both agree to the time, place, space, and plane, and we would agree in this contract that UCC does not apply. And what is their system based upon? UCC. Why is it based upon UCC? Because they don't want to have any battles of the forum. It's all consistent. And when you come from the proper jurisdiction, they're automatically estoppel. They can't go any further. So with that, that's where I am. And if you feel that others can benefit, like I said, it will be a school. I won't be doing 3 days. It'll be a week. It may be 7 days, or it may go longer, depending on how I want to make sure you all understand the material, and then we move to the next module. But others can't go to the next module unless they take the primary course, the basic course, which sets the tone for everything else. And when you see the course and you go through it, you will see that it is well worth the money you pay for the course, because it empowers you. It helps you to see. And if you need to, and then when you start getting together and you start working, and if something happens, then you start doing an experiment. Just for instance, like say if you have a raggedy car, or you have a car out there that's probably worth say if it's worth $500 and you want to make yourself some money, okay, and you understand this whole scheme. And so, therefore, they take your car, they pick up your car, you handle the little ticket that they so-called issue, and you know who you are, and then you go in there and you tell how your private rights are violated, how your property was seized, how you would see it. All this was done on the soil of the United States of America. And when you take that to risk management and you end up getting $250,000 or $150,000 off of a little $500 investment, which is what the cost of the car was, and they violate your private rights on all these levels. Of course, they're going to give you Federal Reserve notes, and you want to put a little clause in there that's saying this is being done by special treaty, because you don't want to make use of that. So you want to make use of that via special treaty, so that they can't say that now you have assented to our jurisdiction. And then what happens in that situation? Well, risk management will tell them, do not engage this person, because we are in the business of not paying money. The insurance company does not want to pay claims. So you better put it in the system, don't touch this man or don't touch this woman, because we are not we're not in the habit of paying our claims. Okay? So those are all the ways you can have fun. So in that, I think we have information on everybody. Is there anyone on the call that was in the Ohio presentation in the seminar? Somebody needs to mute out because we're getting background noise. I was saying, is there anyone on the call that was from the Ohio seminar?
One here was from Arizona seminar.
Yeah, I know that. So there's no one on here from Ohio. Okay, I guess we didn't do a good job of contacting them. That's Jack's group. But anyway, and I'm glad we had this conversation. So you're now all beginning to see what the others, just in this little one presentation, what many of them out there aren't making you aware of, and this is why their process is flawed and why it is failing.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any more questions? Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. Going through this duration of a class, following into another class, which you call a module, are we going to have access to the other members so that we can communicate on study, and or are we going to be aware of what we're implementing for corrections and like that? So
we're see, exactly.
Going to get family.
Ben and Joyce, what Ben and Joyce, they will tell you that sometimes I'm sadistic, and when I say sadistic, meaning that's just Joyce's words, is that I will give you an example of something and ask you to analyze it based upon what you've been taught, okay, or what you've learned in the course. And I will basically lead you to believe that what you said is right on point. And then I will hit you right in between the eyes with a sledgehammer and show you where you're wrong. Okay, and in doing so, to answer your question is yes, you will have access to other those who are attending the seminar, because that's the whole purpose of it. It takes your learning level to a whole nother level. But what I'm saying is, I'm always presenting you with cases. I'm always presenting you with some processes out there that others are doing to see if you can find the errors, to see if you can recognize the flaws, and you'll become so good, hopefully, that you'll be able to read the first paragraph and see right off the bat where they're flawed. And I don't care, but you can read the rest of the document, because sometimes you have a lot of flawed documents out there, and some of the times the research is so good till it convinces you that this person is on point. But when you understand these basic things, I can give you a lot of case sites, but what if I give you case sites from 1968 like I did today with the Terry stop, and I give you a case site from prior 1933? So you have to decide, if he's saying he's from original jurisdiction and he's using this 1968 case, blah, 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 what we got is mixed and multiple jurisdiction. So I don't think that's a case that I want to use, or if they're talking about that case primarily refers to the democracy. So did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to mention also that Tommy said earlier that he would put everybody into a study group so that you would be directly working with each other.
Yep.
And you all know I tried to do that after the so-called, what ended up, it was called the Red Pill Seminar, but it actually turned out to be blue. But anyway, many of you know that I followed up, and I tried to have it where you all were interacting with each other so you could take each other's learning to a whole nother level. Because when you begin to work and you begin to see things, it takes off like a wildfire. I'm not here to present you some information, just present you information just for the presenting it, and you can't use it. That's why I speak of Ben and Joyce. Wayne has been there. They were given things that they know that they apply, and they understand how it works. I just wasn't pulling things out my butt. They have a list of terms. They have the court cases. I have a document, a book over here called the Gorilla Document. So each subject that I talk on or I speak on, and like, for instance, I'm going to give you all a tidbit here. If you can find a case that's called Rose S. Hagen, and this was a case was in Washington, and in that contract it talks about how she was a natural healer or something like that, and at the time she had gotten a license for natural healers, and they was asking for a Social Security number, and she refused to get that. So when she brought her process and everything from the state of. But the court that she was in, was a state of court. And she was complaining that they had canceled her license. And in order to do that, but they failed to do certain things, or they failed to fulfill certain requirements under the state of. And so the judge says, well, what you're stating here is absolutely beautiful. But Rose S. Hagen had a license, meaning she had contracted territorially, and she had already agreed to how state of was going to issue their license. So therefore, she stated a claim, which she failed to state a claim upon which release to be granted, because she had contracted her way out of or around, or where she had abandoned her God-given unalienable rights. And that's what I'm showing you. Your rights, you're always in the republic, but they have to create a record where you have voluntarily consented and with intent entered Satan's realm. With that, I'm going to end this. Is that clear? Did I make that point clear?
Yes.
Somebody?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. So you can look up that case, Rose S. Hagen. You can search it in Washington, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So now, if we look back at the red pill seminar, the blue pill seminar, the blue pill seminar, telling you, Jonah Bay, all of them, not knocking them, telling you to control this state, getting the 98 numbers, all of that. And if you look at my application, when I did the 98, I have a 98, but you guys were told by David Clarence that we don't know if he received the right bullshit. I know what I'm doing. And if you look at when I did that, I put a special signature down there. Okay?
Agent.
Okay, I put a special signature down there, and that signature says this is being done, I'm not waiving, this is being done somewhere else. So the bottom line is, I haven't used it. I don't care to use it because it's not necessary for me to use it. And I had those discussions anyway. I'm telling you, you have a powerful document there called the Constitution of the United States of America. And if you are a native of one of the several states, you have a very powerful document from a jurisdiction where they are your agents.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You don't need all these special devices or operating through this and do all that. No. This is where you are. They have agreed to it. They are derivative. They are corporations. They're not really truly Congress. They are just that for the corporation. That's what they are, and they have gotten you to come there. So if I have made that clear tonight, I have accomplished what I set out to achieve. And if you think about what I've said here and you go back and you look at some of the processes out there, you will see automatically from what I presented here tonight where they're flawed. So we will keep you posted and on this. And we might have 2 more calls because that will give you a chance to let this, what I've told you today, marinate. And if you have questions, then you can pose them over the next couple of calls. And then I have an idea where you guys are, what process you're doing, or where you're trying to get to. And then we'll start off with the schools. We'll start off with the school, the class, and I'll tell you what it's basically all about and what I'm saying the classes are. But you will be able to save yourselves a lot of heartache and pain, monies that you would be spending on folks' process, in terms of dealing with your property, so that you don't have to enter into where you're going to be having to pay taxes and surrendering your control. So on that, if there aren't any more questions, we're going to go ahead and Wayne, is there anything else you'd like to say? Are you still on the call?
I'm here now. Been a good call.
Thanks, Tommy.
And who is that?
I was just, I'm just having fun. Thank you.
Okay. But did I make things clear for you? Because I don't know if I've ever... Were you at any one of the seminars, or you just happened to be invited to the call?
No, I just got invited. Yeah, I'm newbie.
Oh, did you find the information helpful?
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Okay. All right. Well, that's why I try to pride myself on being clear. Yeah. And if no one else has any other questions, I look forward to our next call, and we will take it from there. So any more questions, or is that it? I mean, it's okay to ask a question. Okay.
Good night.
All right. Well, I guess that concludes this call. I look forward to speaking with you in our next call.
Thank you, God. Many blessings.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks, Tommy.
All right,
Thank you,
Tommy. You're welcome.
Boy.
Is the call still on?